golf course in Turnberry, a trade deal, Gaza and Ukraine are all on the agenda. Our very own Bev Turner's there and won't miss a moment.
That's right. I travelled over with the Trump team on Air Force One from Washington, D.C. on Friday. And given that Donald Trump told GB News as he landed that he believes that Europe is being killed by so much migration, will that comment make for a tense conversation with our Prime Minister?
I think it's great that we made a deal today instead of playing games and maybe not making a deal at all. I think it's... I'm going to let you say, but I think it's the biggest deal ever made. Thank you very much. Congratulations.
And deal secured. President Trump announces an EU trade deal with 15% tariffs just days before that August the 1st deadline.
Staff have been crying out for tasers to be authorised for use across the adult male estate, and I was very pleased to be able to sign off on this trial. It will run over the summer period.
So the Justice Secretary, Shabana Mahmood, wants to keep prison staff safe. She's announced a taser trial in male prisons. Mark White joins a prison officers' training session.
At this security facility, a mock scenario of the type of violence that's all too common within our prisons.
And the most astonishing story, Sharia job backlash. MPs demand a Sharia court job advert based in Manchester is removed from a government website.
What was it doing there in the first place? And Bobby's on the tweet, not the street. The Home Office has put together, can you believe this, an elite police squad to monitor anti-migrant posts on social media. Outrageous. We just heard Johnny Reynolds, the business secretary, about it, in complete denial about what signal that sends to the country. With unrest spreading across the country, I know what we'll do. We'll reflect people's concern about these migrant hotels. We'll have an elite police unit looking at our social media posts. That'll be yours and mine, by the way.
That makes sense. And these aren't new police officers.
No.
You know, we've got a bit of a shortage in the country, you might have heard. These are drawn from the police officers that are policing the streets in your area, taken from the streets to your tweets.
Yeah.
And they think that's going to keep the country calm over the summer.
No idea.
Make that make sense?
I can't.
You know, you worked in politics for a long time, Andrew. Who thought about putting that out and that would be a good idea? I mean, seriously.
They really don't get it, do they?
They really
and then
don't.
for the minister to do the media round and getting grilled by Stephen here, honestly.
Yeah, couldn't answer.
No, of course, we'd like to hear what you think. Send your views and post your comments by visiting
gbnews.com/your say. Anything you want to talk about this morning, especially if you want to talk about England, because, as you know, Andrew loves his football.
Didn't watch it.
Stop it. But first, it's the 60-second news update with Sophia Hill for you.
Very good morning. The headlines from the GB Newsroom. Keir Starmer will meet with the US President Donald Trump for a bilateral meeting in Scotland today, with a trade deal, Gaza and Ukraine all on the agenda. The Lionesses have retained their title as they won the Euros women's final, beating Spain in penalties. And breaking this morning, at least 6 people have been killed after a mass shooting at a market in Bangkok in Thailand, with the fatalities including the gunman who took his own life. Back in the UK, it's day 4 of strike action by resident doctors in England, walking out in a pay dispute that's seen the government's 5.4% offer firmly rejected. And as taser trials for prison officers is approved, there's a stark warning, as the head of the Prison Officers Union says it may only be a matter of time before a prison officer is killed amid what he calls an epidemic of violence behind bars. Those are the headlines for now. More news at the top of the hour.
For the very latest GB News direct to your smartphone, sign up to News Alerts by scanning the QR code or go to gbnews.com/alerts.
Hello and welcome. This is Britain's Newsroom, live across the UK on GB News with Andrew Pearce and Dawn Neeson. Bev Turner, of course, is in Scotland with Donald Trump.
With Donald Trump.
No less.
And
it's a pretty good name drop,
so
isn't it?
welcome back from holiday, by the way.
Thank
but
you.
isn't she doing an amazing job? You must be so impressed with your regular partner in crime.
She's done really well, and her question about immigration in this country, where the President responded about the wicked levels of migration, immigration, and how Europe's got to get a grip, that was Bev's question, and that set the agenda for the weekend.
It was on the front pages of at least 3 national newspapers. I mean, cracking job. And
so if you're listening on the radio now, we've got Bev is in the media huddle. There's the President, and she's looking at him. She's filming him.
A lot of eye contact.
There is a lot of eye contact, particularly I would say on his part.
Yes.
Funny that.
And there she is. And there she is in the. I think that was in Turnberry in the golf resort, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And they've done the banqueting suite up there to look like the Oval Office. They've arranged the chairs like the Oval Office. Quite clever.
It is amazing. No, she's done brilliantly. I'm very proud of her. And she's been on Air Force One, which is something I've never done.
No, me neither. Funny enough, I never have. I never will do either. But, I mean, Bev was telling me over the weekend what it was actually like on that plane, and it's amazing. I mean, obviously, the President is at the front of the plane in the upper class bit, the business class bit, you know. And Bev was not exactly economy, but more like premium. So it wasn't uber posh.
When I was in the lobby for the Times, I used to go on a lot of the Prime Minister's plane then, Blair's. But, of course, they don't have an Air Force One as such. It's one of the Queen's flights, or the King's flights as they are now.
But it's only Air Force One when the President gets on it. Apart from that, it's just a normal plane.
But she's also experiencing, we're going to be talking a little bit about, the extraordinary security that surrounds the President of the United States. He is the most protected man on the planet. And if you remember how close an assassin came to ending it all in the presidential campaign. Yeah,
no, absolutely. And you can understand that. I think it took Bev 2 hours to get through security. She'll have all the details on all this. The background stuff is fascinating. And obviously, Starmer is going up there for a
and of course...
Well.
I can tell you this, he's a great football fan, Starmer. He's frustrated about the timings going to see Trump in Scotland because, of course, the Lionesses will be back. They'll go to Downing Street. They will be hosted at a Downing reception by, Angela Rayner, our first woman Deputy Prime Minister.
Do you think she'll mention that?
I think she will. And actually, it's not an inappropriate thing, actually.
No, but to be fair, right, we have had history of politicians jumping on the sporting bandwagon, like Hitler, for example, to promote themselves, right? And lots of tweets this morning, congratulations, girls, the Lionesses did it, brilliant, lovely, from politicians, they said. 5 minutes ago, half of them didn't know what a woman was.
I know. Don't you remember George Osborne going to the 2012 London Olympics and was booed?
Yeah. Understandably so. I mean, David Lammy, up until 5 minutes ago, thought you could knit your own cervix.
I know.
And now he's going, go girls!
Now, moving on. A glorious victory, which I have to confess I did not see. I don't do football, but I'm very pleased.
Really?
The Lionesses have won the final back-to-back.
Yeah. Do you know...
Some are saying it's the greatest achievement in English football history. Isn't England winning the World Cup in 1966 the greatest achievement?
Well, actually, the captain of this team is now the most successful English captain of all time, beating even the great Bobby Moore.
Right.
Isn't she, Paul Coit?
Well, Coit's here.
It's because it's 2 on the trot. I mean, and also the Lionesses are the first English national team to win a trophy, and I love this phrase, which is being used, on foreign soil.
Yes.
It's not abroad, it's on foreign soil.
Yeah, in Basel.
Swiss soil, in fact.
Right, old dump Basel. I don't know if you've ever been.
You know what? I don't think there is a lot in Basel.
No.
It's
but
really
the football was great.
Yeah.
Apparently.
So why on earth and you said you don't do football.
I don't.
But you are Swindon town. Well, that makes sense. So there we are. So there you go. So you do, because always, I'm going to out you now, because you always go on.
Oh, let me tell you, I came out 40 years ago. A bit late for that, love.
Oh, this is much more important. I'm going to out you as a football fan, because every morning we always discuss something about football.
No, I walk past and say no sport today.
Yeah, and then you go, but so-and-so played well, and I thought that was good. So don't give me all that old nonsense.
I can remember. Now, I'm curious about what happens to the manager.
Yeah, Serena Bigman.
So she's won these 2 extraordinary results. Does she...
3. She won, so it's the 3rd on the trot, because with the Netherlands was the first.
So does she quit now while she's on top, before the halo slips, or will she want to hang on to try and propel England into the World Cup final, which they may not do?
Absolutely, there's no question. She will definitely stay.
Do you think so?
Absolutely, there's no doubt about it. Why on earth? I can't even think of any argument.
Money.
Why you would lose? No, I think the thing is that you say about the halo slipping in, but the way things are, she's such a good manager. There was talk where. Is there any chance that, you know, men's side... This is always what comes up. It happened with Emma Hayes at Chelsea, who's now the USA manager. And he said, oh, do you think there's a chance of going into the men's game? Mark Bullingham, who's the boss of the FA, he was interviewed about this and said she is going nowhere. You know, there's no chance she's going anywhere. She's got a contract and she will stay. And the thing is, going into the... After the Euros, they got to the World Cup final against Spain and lost. Now have won the Euros. There's only one thing on her mind, and that is winning the World Cup.
World Cup,
yeah.
absolutely.
Of course it is.
Will they get OBEs, MBEs? Because if I recall, Johnny Wilkinson and the England rugby team, when they won the World Cup,
yes,
they all got a goal.
They did. Well, some of them already have, haven't they, Paul? Some of them have.
Yeah,
and Serena Wiegman's got an honorary.
She
MBE.
hasn't. She will. Yeah, so because obviously she's Dutch,
yeah.
So I think an honorary damehood.
Yeah,
do you think now? I think that's fair.
Yeah.
Because she's done such an amazing job, and she's done something no other England manager's done.
The England football manager who was in 2 finals that they didn't win. Southgate, he's a knight now, isn't he?
Yeah, exactly. So he's got to final. Women, I don't think there's much doubt about it.
I do think
the
calls now for a bank holiday to celebrate are for the birds. And why should we?
Well,
it's hogwash.
I totally agree. I'm not a big fan of bank holidays.
I was saying the same thing. I don't think it's bank holiday worthy yet. What about if the World Cup? Would you be happy with the bank holiday for that?
No.
However, if we remember a certain chap called Keir Starmer when he was in opposition 3 years ago,
I do.
when the women one was going, yeah, come on, let's have a bank holiday, we must have a bank holiday. And now he's in charge and realises how much it will cost.
Yes.
He's going, no, I don't think we should have a bank holiday at all.
Well, he knew at the time, of course, but he was opposition leader,
Exactly.
scoring cheap political points.
It's hypocrisy.
He was, of course, at the final last night.
I don't see how the link... I'm sorry, but it was a wonderful occasion. I don't see why... all of a sudden we should have a bank holiday. When would that? It doesn't make sense to me.
No.
But we are having a parade, aren't we? We've got a public parade.
That's tomorrow.
Up.
Yeah.
Yes.
Prince of Wales was there yesterday with his daughter Charlotte, which I thought was rather charming.
Yep.
Because of course, what is he? He's chairman or the president
of the
Football
FA
Association.
Yeah. So it was great.
He didn't go last time.
Yeah, but he was there, and he was handing out. He's obviously very, very careful when you hand out medals when you're in a situation like that.
Did he present?
So yeah, and he looked so happy, and obviously, and he looked very proud as well. And it was a great moment.
Spain had won. He'd have had to have handed the prizes to them.
Yeah, he would have been there. He would have been there. But the thing is, you've got Alexander Seferin, who's the president of UEFA. He was the one that handed the trophy over, so he would be the last.
Yeah.
But they were all because there'd always be the procession.
Yeah.
You know, there'd probably be the Spanish person, and then you'd have the FA person, and then you'd have the chairman of UEFA, the head of UEFA, and that's Seferin.
And no controversy this time with no one snogging anything.
No, I think what was interesting, I think everybody was particularly careful about how they handed the medals over to handshake. I'm not going to... There we go. So obviously you've got to be very, very careful after
what became of that manager?
The manager, no, that was there was the boss. Well, there's not a lot that's happened since, has there? He's ousted, and he's not going to be in his job again. So that was the end of that.
I think the loveliest thing was having Charlotte there. Obviously, she's a big fan of football and the women's team. Yeah, and you know she signed her first official document yesterday.
Did she?
When her and her father put out a statement saying, "Congratulations, girls, well done," and Charlotte signed it. It's the first time she signed it in her official title.
Very nice, very nice.
Isn't it lovely?
There's
really,
some images
really
coming out. I think the Shark D Lionesses are now leaving the hotel. I suspect there's a few hangovers on that coach.
There's going to be.
Yeah,
they
are entitled to that.
Yeah.
Some of them like a party.
I think the amazing thing, I think of all the different stories, and there are amazing personal stories within this. And Lucy Bronze, who played, and I mentioned this all morning, she played with a broken leg. She had a fractured tibia when she was playing.
Yes.
And continued to play.
And you know what, Paul? I mean, you know, compared to the men's game where they've only got to get their hair pulled and they're rolling about in agony, she played with a fractured tibia.
She did, but if you're talking about the women's game and not being like that, you should have seen some of the Spanish players rolling around on the floor yesterday without being touched.
Oh, really?
So I don't
think,
they're as bad
as the men?
Yeah, there was a lot of that going on. But when it came to the English team, not at all. Hannah Hampton, I mean, she had IOPS as a child and terrible eyes, you know, and she's a goalkeeper.
Yeah, she was boss-eyed. Can you say that still?
Well, I don't know whether that's it's the actual strabismus, I think, is the word.
But she was brilliant.
Yeah,
well,
2 penalty saves.
Yeah.
You missed a great game.
Yeah, what were you doing?
Watch the rerun this afternoon.
I think I was listening to a Wagner ring cycle opera.
Of course you were.
Of course I was.
Of course you were.
I just didn't have the telly on. Still ahead, why is a government website advertising a role in a Sharia court?
Yeah.
Last time I looked, courts were meant to be administered by the government.
The law, yes, absolutely.
The law.
The judiciary, in any case. All of that coming up next.
And?
Oh, yeah, and police are going to be monitoring your tweets. Sorry, I forgot about that. I'm so nervous about saying anything in case the police are watching me. Yeah, they're monitoring your tweets rather than our streets. But first, if you are, of course, in search of some holiday sun, here is the forecast for those top European destinations.
Can't wait to get in that sea.
Lovely and warm.
Just like the feeling of having great travel insurance.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations forecast.
Hello there. We've got some severe thunderstorms on the way across many parts of Italy and the Balkans on Monday and Tuesday. But the good news is the extreme heat across Greece and Turkey is slowly easing, though there are unfortunately still a few wildfires around in places. Those showers also across parts of Italy, maybe the Pyrenees as well. But most of Iberia dry, sunny and settled, as indeed it will be across parts of Madeira and the Canary Islands. Lots of sunshine on the way and very warm, if not hot, over the next few days.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations forecast.
5 hosts, 5 opinions, 5 fearless debates,
5 unfiltered takes on the day's news.
5 reasons not to be anywhere else on Saturday night.
This is the Saturday 5.
You got me. You got me good there. Britain's biggest Saturday night TV show.
It's not a bad brand.
Yeah.
Uncensored.
Very, very racy tonight on the unpredictable.
What did she say? Can you translate it for us?
And always entertaining.
And how can a country go from being led by William Wallace
Saturday nights from 6 p.m. only on GB News.
The People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
You're going to want to stay tuned, trust me.
This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
It's completely unacceptable to have a biological man in a female-only changing room. And from my personal point of view, I was abused as a child, and having a man in our changing room is a particular trigger for me. And the trust just did nothing about it, so we had to take things further.
So you complained to the trust about this. You and your colleagues got together, and they just ignored you. They didn't really care about it.
Not a day. They didn't care at all. We wrote a letter of concern. 26 of us signed it. And the response was that we needed to be re-educated, we needed to broaden our mindset, and they backed this trans person 150%.
So, Karen, this person who identifies as Rose, on one occasion they were staring at you or your colleagues' breasts in this changing room and asking, are you getting changed yet? Another of your colleagues had a panic attack. I don't think it was you. Is that accurate?
That was me.
And what do you make of people who call you a TERF or a bigot for complaining about this kind of thing? Because that's what they say.
They do, yes, but there's been loads of positivity out there for us. There's loads of positive comments, and I'm not a bigot. I'm not a TERF. I'm just fighting for what's right. I want to feel safe when I get changed. Yeah. There's what's happened to me could have happened to other people, and I want to be a voice for them to stand up and come forward and say this is not acceptable.
Karen, you're a brave lady, you and your colleagues, and I'm glad, actually, it was Wes Streeting who intervened in the end, one of the more competent Labour ministers, who told Darlington Hospital, sort this out, pull your finger out, don't be so ridiculous, and he got involved and he sorted it out for you.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
And of course, we're going to get to Scotland at some point to talk to Bev Turner, because she is in that entourage with the President. Terribly exciting.
Yeah, that's why she's not here, but...
It's a private visit, but yesterday he saw the President of the European Commission, Ursula von der Leyen.
Yeah.
Today he's seeing the Prime Minister. There'll be more stuff. He's announced the framework of a deal on a trade deal for the EU.
But it was, I mean,
Not as good as ours.
It was going to...
Another benefit of leaving.
Absolutely, Brexit. It was going to be 30%, wasn't it, the trade deal tariffs between EU. Now, Ursula von der Leyen put on social media she was coming over and just suddenly turned up. Wasn't really expecting it.
They knew the deal was... The moment I knew she was coming, I knew the deal was done.
Yeah. So it's now 15%.
15%,
What have we got?
10%.
Hey.
But we're still arguing about steel and aluminium, which is 25%.
Yeah, and the pharmaceuticals thing is quite worrying for Ireland, isn't it?
Yeah, because he's not allowing that to be part of any trade deal.
No, I know, because it's so important to America. OK, right, shall we read some messages out? Keep them coming in, by the way, gbnews.com/say, because this show is all about you. It's not about Andrew, as much as he likes to think it is. This is from David. David, well done for remembering it's Dawn rather than Bev, as he calls me. Andrew and Dawn, the Women's England football team has never won the tournament. It was the other teams that lost. England were abysmal.
Well, that's a bit mean-spirited. I can't comment because I didn't see it.
Are you
but
Joe
I
Barton
was
described?
told that we were quite lucky to have qualified for the final.
Well, we were, but I mean, you know, the same applies
to... luck.
The same, yeah, exactly that. The same applies to the men's football all the time. Not often the best team there, but you win.
And also, we don't often win.
No.
The men's team.
Well, no, the women are now officially more successful.
1966 and all that.
So, Joey Barton, if you are watching, if you'd like to get in touch, gbnews.com/you'll say. And I'll tell you what, our Piers Morgan's lad put out a pretty nasty tweet as well.
Did he?
Yeah.
What did he say?
He was just having a go. Yeah, it's amazing success, regardless of what you think of women playing football, da-da-da-da-da and all that. Celebrate the success.
Look, this country is going through a grim time. Yeah. The mood of the country is bad, and this cheers people. Every single front page has got those women on the front pages, and quite right too.
Yeah, no, absolutely, and they should do. We need some feel-good.
We do.
We need some feel-good factor, and we've got lots of it in the show, haven't we?
We certainly have. And, of course, we'll be talking to Bev. But up next, we're asking, do you support prison officers using tasers on violent inmates? I do. This is Britain's Newsroom.
GB News.
And GB News.
We'll see you soon.
News one on you.
Expect a warm front, moving from the kitchen right through to the rest of the house. Boxed Boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Good morning, welcome to your latest GB News weather from the Met Office. So today is starting a bit drier and brighter for many of us, a bit more in the way of sunshine around. However, still one or two isolated showers on the cards for some of us as we go through this afternoon. Almost anywhere could see a very light shower, but there will be plenty of sunshine between those showers. Probably England and Wales seeing the bulk of those showers through the afternoon, but they will be much lighter and much more scattered than we saw on Sunday. And as I say, a lot more sunshine between those showers too. Feeling really pleasantly warm in that sunshine, particularly at this time of year. The sun's fairly strong still, 24 or 25 degrees in the south, and even into the low 20s across much of Scotland and Northern Ireland too. As we then head into Monday evening, there will still be some late sunshine on offer, those showers gradually starting to ease through the evening. One or two still around in places, but it should be dry for most of us to end Monday. Perhaps the sunshine turning a little hazier across the very far west of Northern Ireland into Monday evening. And across parts of Scotland too, still one or two isolated showers, particularly across the Northern Isles, to finish on Monday. As we then go through Monday night and into the start of Tuesday, that area of cloud associated with that area of rain pushes its way eastwards overnight Monday and into the start of Tuesday. Before we get there, though, there will still be plenty of dry weather around, those showers gradually easing, plenty of clear spells, but turning increasingly wet and perhaps a little breezy across parts of Scotland and Northern Ireland. And quite mild here too, temperatures generally holding up into the double figures across many towns and cities, but some rural spots perhaps starting just a little bit fresher on Tuesday morning. That area of rain then continues to sink its way south and eastward through Tuesday. It will break up, turn a little more showery in nature through the afternoon, but we could still see some heavier downpours and there will be quite a bit more cloud around than we're seeing through today. Although temperatures will still be pretty similar, it will be feeling quite a bit more humid on Tuesday afternoon. 23, 24 degrees in the south, but still into the low 20s further north, but definitely feeling more muggy than it did over the weekend.
A positive outlook through the night will power through to a bright day ahead. Boxed Home Battery Storage, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Crash Law 24.
sponsors GB News Traffic and Travel Report.
Good morning, this is the latest AI travel news from GBNews.com. Expect disruptions on the A725 northbound as the slip road from Belsey Hill roundabout is closed. Drivers should follow diversions and allow extra time. Resurfacing has led to diversions on the A470 southbound between Abercynon and Pontypridd. In Suffolk, all lanes are closed due to a collision on the A14 westbound entry slip at junction 50 near Stowmarket. A vehicle accident has closed a lane on the M50 eastbound between junctions 2 and 1 in Worcestershire. And on the trains, there is ongoing disruption with cross-country between Edinburgh and Newcastle, and with Great Western Railway between Bridgend and Cardiff Central. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
Crash Law 24 sponsors GB News Traffic and Travel Report.
It's the final week to see how you can win big, as there's an incredible £54,321 in tax-free cash to be won. What would you spend it on? The holiday of a lifetime? Or just sit back, relax and remove some of those day-to-day financial stresses? Lines close on the 1st of August, so make sure you don't miss out. For another chance to win, text cash to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB14 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 1st of August. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
You've read the headlines, you've heard what those in power have to say. How about now we actually get to the truth?
They would pay attention.
We go beyond the political theatre and tell you what's really going on behind the scenes. For a massive council tax hike, one of the biggest in the UK. Others follow their lines, but we go off script.
You sound like a broken record, just like week after week.
Cutting through the narratives and giving you unique perspectives. That's Ben Leo tonight, Saturdays and Sundays from 9 p.m. on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
Good morning. It's Monday the 28th of July and it is 10 o'clock. We're live across the United Kingdom. This is Britain's Newsroom with Andrew Pearce and Dawn Newsome.
They've done it. 2 days of celebrations as England women win those Euros again. Today they're off to number 10 and tomorrow, the big one, an open-top bus parade in central London.
I like your Prime Minister. Slightly more liberal than I am, as you've probably heard. But he's a good man. He got a trade deal done.
And the Prime Minister will meet President Trump today at his golf course in Turnberry. A trade deal, Gaza and Ukraine are all on the agenda. Our Bev Turner won't miss a moment.
That's right. I travelled over with the Trump team on Air Force One from Washington, D.C. on Friday. And given that Donald Trump told GB News as he landed that he believes that Europe is being killed by so much migration, will that comment make for a tense conversation with our Prime Minister?
Well, it could be awkward in front of the cameras for the Prime Minister this lunchtime. He wants to be talking about tariffs, about Ukraine, about Gaza, but Donald Trump seems pretty interested in having a go at Europe over immigration, and also free speech might be mentioned.
I think it's great that we made a deal today instead of playing games and maybe not making a deal at all. I think it's, I'm going to let you say, but I think it's the biggest deal ever made. Thank you very much. Congratulations.
So the deal secure. President Trump announces an EU trade deal with 15% tariffs, 10% for Britain, just days before the deadline.
You keep mentioning that, don't you? And Sharia job backlash. MPs demand a Sharia court job advert based in Manchester is removed from a government website.
Bobby's on the tweet, not on the street. The Home Office has put together an elite police squad to monitor anti-migrant posts on social media. mean, the aftermath of the disturbances in Epping and other parts of the country.
That'll work. And the doctor still won't see you. It's the fourth day of industrial action as Tory leader Kemi Badenoch says she'll ban striking doctors. Deputy Chairman of the Conservative Party, Matt Vickers, spoke to GB News.
Labour said we're going to come in, what we're going to do is we're going to dish out the dosh, everybody will be happy and they'll stop striking. We dished out the dosh, millions of pounds through the door, taxpayers picking up the tab, and the end result is they've come back for 29%. I don't know when you last saw a 29% pay rise, but it's not something that the world gets to see.
I think that'd be a popular policy, but you always go back to the question with the Tories, Bev. How long were you in power?
Dawn.
14 years.
It's Dawn.
Dev.
I love you.
Dawn.
I love you, Andrew. Yeah, no, exactly that.
14 years.
43% of the country actually think that there should be a legal ban
Yeah.
on doctors going on strike now, like there is with police officers and prison officers.
And the nurses are voting, and we are pretty sure they're going to vote for industrial action as well. Now, I thought when Labour got in, that was all going to stop, particularly after the bumper 22.5% pay rise last time for junior doctors.
Well, this is the only Labour government I can remember that actually managed to alienate everybody, including the unions. And also, senior doctors and consultants have been balloted, and that we get the result of that in beginning of September.
We do.
So we could expect strikes going on across the NHS until January.
Amazing, which means the government's big pledge to cut waiting lists.
Oops, not happening. And normally on a winter we lose roughly 5,000 old people, pensioners, to the cold. Imagine if the NHS were on strike and how bad those figures are going to be.
Even worse.
Exactly. In any case, this show is not about us, it's about you, and we want to hear your views on everything we're talking about today. Very simple to get involved at gbnews.com/your say. But yes, it's time for the news headlines with Sophia Hill.
Dawn, thank you. Very good morning. It's just gone 10 o'clock. These are your latest headlines. Top story today, Sir Keir Starmer will meet with the US President Donald Trump for a bilateral meeting in Scotland, with the trade deal, Gaza and Ukraine all on the agenda. It comes as leaders of the United States and the European Union have reached a landmark trade deal during a meeting yesterday. EU President Ursula von der Leyen said it will bring stability as the pair announced 15% tariffs across the board. Now, celebrations are in store as the Lionesses retained their title and won the Euros Women's Final. After taking the win in penalties, fans celebrated the day of triumph across the country. Chloe Kelly scored the winning spot kick after two huge saves from the goalkeeper Hannah Hampton. Now, the King has congratulated the squad and, in his words, the next task is to bring home the World Cup in 2027, if you possibly can. The Lionesses will celebrate with an open-top bus parade in central London and a trip to Downing Street, but there are no plans for a bank holiday. Now, Reform UK leader Nigel Farage has revealed Colin Sutton as the party's police and crime advisor. Sharing the news this morning on X, Mr Farage praised Mr Sutton as one of Britain's most effective and respected senior detectives. Colin Sutton led the hunt for serial killer Levi Belfield and the Night Stalker rapist Delroy Grant. He said that he'll develop the party's pledge to halve crime in 5 years by hiring 30,000 extra police and investigating every reported offence. Prime Minister Sir Keir Starmer will reportedly convene a special cabinet meeting this week, expected to focus on Gaza as pressure mounts on the UK to recognise a Palestinian state. Ministers are currently in summer recess, but growing concern over the humanitarian crisis has prompted the suggested early return. Foreign Secretary David Lammy has welcomed Israel's pauses in military operations, calling them essential but long overdue. But he has warned that limited access won't be enough. And breaking this morning, we've learnt that at least 6 people have been killed after a mass shooting at a food market in Bangkok in Thailand. The number of fatalities includes the gunman who did take his own life in the Thai capital. 4 security guards at this popular food market were killed by the gunman, as well as 1 woman. The police have now confirmed that no tourists were killed or injured during the attack. Deputy Police Chief of Bangkok's Su District has said that the police are investigating the motive. Back in the UK, it's day 4 of strike action by resident doctors in England, walking out in a pay dispute that's seen the government's 5.4% offer firmly rejected. Doctors say they've lost nearly 30% in real terms since 2008 and are demanding full restoration. Health Secretary Wes Streeting thanked NHS staff who stayed on shift this weekend, while Conservative leader Kemi Badenoch pledged to ban doctors' strikes entirely if she was elected, putting medics under the same legal limits as police and military. GB News spoke to the Deputy Chairman of the Conservative Party, Matt Vickers, earlier, who hit out at the government for failing to stop the strikes.
Got 28% over 3 years. That was given to them. Labour said, we're going to come in. What we're going to do is we're going to dish out the dosh. Everybody will be happy and they'll stop striking. We dished out the dosh, millions of pounds through the door, taxpayers picking up the tab, and the end result is they've come back for 29%. I don't know when you last saw a 29% pay rise, but it's not something that the world gets to see. And the reality is that money comes from taxpayers.
Now, stark warning today. The head of the Prison Officers Union says it may only be a matter of time before a prison officer is killed amid what he calls an epidemic of violence behind bars. It comes as Justice Secretary Shabana Mahmood has approved a trial of tasers, now issued to specialist officers in Oxfordshire and South Yorkshire. The device will only be used in high-threat situations, such as riots or hostage crises. Now, this follows the violent attacks on officers in recent months by two of the country's most dangerous and notorious inmates. Ms Mahmood says that she refuses to tolerate record levels of violence.
I've inherited a situation where we have unacceptable levels of violence in our prison estate, and I've wanted to make decisions that put us in a position where our staff are safer and that we are able to de-escalate incidents of violent disorder in our prisons in a safer way as possible. I know that staff have been crying out for tasers to be authorised for use across the adult male estate, and I was very pleased to be able to sign off on this trial. It will run over the summer period, and it's designed to make sure that we can learn lessons about the use of tasers within a custodial environment.
And millions of phones across the UK will sound a 10-second siren this September as part of the second national test of the emergency alert system. The government will send out a short text at around 3 p.m. on Sunday, the 7th of September, warning people that it is just a test. This move forms part of a new resilience action plan that's aimed at strengthening the UK's emergency preparedness. Those are the latest GB News headlines for now. More from me in just under half an hour, but now it's back to Andrew and Dawn.
This is Britain's Newsroom, live across the UK with Andrew Pearce and Dawn Neeson.
Good morning.
Is there in Scotland.
Yes, she
we'll
is.
Be hearing from her at some point.
Yes.
She's there for the President because, of course, as we speak, the Prime Minister is en route to Scotland for his sit-down with the President. It's a funny old private visit by the President, isn't it, when you consider
it's a golfing holiday.
Yesterday.
Yeah.
And the Prime Minister today. But also, when did you ever know of a President who's on an official, semi-official visit, showcasing his own commercial empire?
Well,
we're seeing not just one of his golf courses, but two.
Two of them. He's doing very well. He's getting a lot of publicity.
And he's telling the world shamelessly, Turnberry is the finest golf course in the world.
Looks pretty nice, apart from all those... I can't do his accent, I'm not going to try, but the wind farms. He's got a thing about the wind farms, the windmills.
There are a lot in Scotland.
They're ruining the view from the 18th hole, evidently.
Yeah, there are a lot of them in Scotland.
Yeah, talking of... Can I just mention... I'm not going to read the messages out, because they're quite rude, to be honest with you. But gbnews.com/say. Lots of people having a go at me this morning. Sorry.
Well, you're used to that.
For talking about... Yeah, I can get that here, by the way. For talking about women's football and stopping comparing it to the men's. I didn't. I just said it was an amazing success. Sorry.
Now, as migrant riots continue to break out across the UK, the government's response is this. They're going to deploy a team of police officers to monitor your social media posts. We're not kidding. We're dead to say this is the latest idea coming out of Yvette Cooper's Home Office.
They think this is a good idea. Yeah, this is a special division drawn from police officers we already have supposedly tackling crime on the streets. And it's going to maximise social media intelligence to avoid any potential riots coming up. I would humbly suggest that this is going to annoy people so much they're more likely to riot.
I know. Well, let's talk to the former Met Police officer, Graham Wetton, who joins us now. Graham, morning. I just think this government has a tin ear at the best of times. And while we've had people who are protesting in Epping and Portsmouth and other parts of the country being dismissed as far-right thugs and all the rest of it, I'm pretty sure that the majority of them are just local law-abiding citizens who are fed up with these migrant hotels being imposed on people, and particularly with the issues of law and order. Do you think this idea of an elite unit to look at social media posts is going to make matters worse?
Good morning, both. I'm not sure that it make matters worse. I think from a policing perspective and having information and intelligence about planned protests, that's a sensible move. As we saw with Southport last year and even with Epping last week, policing has to have the resources to respond to whatever assembly, gathering, protest that takes place. You can only get that if you know it's going to happen. So what we saw in Southport last year and probably last week in Epping was that these protests took place and largely unaware. They weren't aware of the interest, the level of interest, the likelihood of numbers turning up. And I think we saw the resources that were first deployed at both incidents weren't enough to manage those protests safely for everybody concerned. The majority of which, definitely in Epping, were local residents. But then we saw counter-protests turning up. So I think for policing perspective, to actually know the information, who's likely to turn up, what their intention is, where they're going, how long they're going to be there, that all forms part of your policing plan. So it's a sensible move for me. The word elite doesn't sit with me. It's hardly like to be an elite team of detectives. It's probably like to be intelligence analysts, researchers, and some police officers with knowledge of protest groups that can advise the command teams who's likely to turn up, what they're going to do, and what their objective is. And if it's likely to be largely local residents and not what I would term regular protesters.
Graham, it does say, though, I mean, we have been trying to get further detail from the government. It's not that easy, obviously. It does sound like they are, the word elite is misleading, but they are drawing officers from across the country. As we know, police forces across the country are already hard-pressed enough. We have an incredible shortage of officers as it is. By sitting people in front of computer screens, surely that is going to harm the amount of real policing they do to stop crime, like, you know, burglary and rape and theft and all these sort of things.
No, I agree. I can see that. I used to work in the Met's intelligence unit, the public, or basically the protest intelligence unit. That was a sergeant and 3 constables with 1 researcher and 1 analyst. So it wasn't a huge unit by any stretch of the imagination. Nationally, I can't see it being a huge unit. I don't think we're talking like significant resources sitting in front of computer screens all day, but there is a need for policing to know about these protests when they're being planned, how many people are looking at it. There was a time in policing where they literally gauged the numbers of people turning up to protests by how many likes a post had, which was just nonsense. I think there needs to be an overview of the interest, and dare I say, even some awareness of some of the misinformation and almost like deliberately misleading information that's being posted on social media. So maybe policing can start negating some of that and stop some of these protests taking place that are largely fueled by people that just want to cause disorder. So I think it does need a unit like this to look at this and have an overview.
Is one way they could stop the misinformation, Graham, is to publish and tell us immediately the nationality of people who've been arrested, because we saw what happened in Southport. The monster Raducanu was born in Cardiff, the son of Rwandan refugees. He'd not come across the channel. When I was first in my local newspaper days, you always had to say, you had to know if it was a court case, name, address, age. Why shouldn't we know the nationality of these people?
I can't see a reason in most cases for that not to be. I think sometimes it's not needed, but I think if it starts becoming an issue, and that's where this unit hopefully will earn its place, so that they can see what's being posted. We can negate some of these false information being posted. If it starts being put on there, false information about maybe nationality or ethnicity, then policing can make a balanced decision as to whether we need to release that information prior to any court appearances. That largely comes to the Crown Prosecution Service, what the police can release. I think we saw the Chief Constable for Merseyside last year actually wanted to release more information, but was prevented from doing so by the CPS. So I think policing needs to have more of a say in what is released to the public so they can inform the public properly.
Graham, just finally and quickly, given the treatment of Lucy Connolly and several journalists, don't the police already have some kind of unit that monitors our social media output? Why do we need a special one?
No, not to my knowledge, not to this level either. I think those instances you mentioned are then reported to the police, who investigate it as they would investigate any other allegation of crime. I think it does need people who are aware of social media, how it works, what posts to put on there, and have some experience and understanding of what needs to be dealt with. That would, for my knowledge, that would just have been maybe an investigator giving that to look at as part of an allegation under maybe malicious communications or something along those lines, Public Order Act. So I think we do need some people with some knowledge and experience of how social media works. Policing needs to get up to date with this and actually get a grip of it very quickly.
OK, Graham, thank you very much. That's former Met Police officer Graham Wetton joined. Well, thank you, they're talking there. Now, a Home Office spokesman has said the new team will help police forces track real-time information and protect communities from incidents and emergencies before they escalate. As part of the government's plan for change, we are restoring visible neighbourhood policing focused on the public's priorities, including halving knife crime and violence against women, clamping down on theft and antisocial behaviour, and ensuring that people can feel safe in their own high streets.
Well, that's reassuring, isn't it? Must say. Now, in other news, the Prime Minister is on his way to meet Donald Trump in Scotland. Let's get some more from our very own political correspondent, Catherine Forster. Big moment for the Prime Minister, following on after von der Leyen, the EU Commission President, getting her trade deal. He still wants trying to get our tariffs on steel and aluminium down from 25% to 10%. But is it going to be overshadowed by Gaza?
I think it could well be. It is a big day for the Prime Minister, so he's going to arrive at lunchtime. They're going to have a bilap. There's going to be questions to the press. We know that that can go in any direction because you never know what Donald Trump is going to say next. I think there could be some very, very awkward differences of opinion there, particularly on migration. We heard the
because
comments...
of Bev Turner's question to the Prime Minister on Saturday, where he actually described Europe's got to get a grip of this. What was the word he used? Wicked migration?
Described it as an invasion, said, better get your act together or you won't have a Europe left. And saying how he stopped migration. I think there are lots of questions about, look, what America has done, why can't Europe do the same? I suspect which will be difficult. We know he's also very upset about windmills, but our Prime Minister will want to talk about getting a ceasefire in Gaza, getting more aid into Gaza, more support for Ukraine, and, of course, trade, because it was announced, wasn't it, ages ago, this big trade deal, and supposedly tariffs on steel were going to be cut right down, and yet they are still sticking at 25%. Now, that's better than everyone else, but still, for an industry that's already on its knees, very, very bad news indeed. So they'll be really wanting to see if they can get progress on that. I think it is worth saying the deal that Trump did with the EU yesterday, they're happy relatively to have got from the threatened 30% down to 15%. But, you know, we are at 10% now for most things, and that is a Brexit benefit.
Of course it is.
Johnny Reynolds, the business secretary, today has actually said it is a benefit of being out of the EU. So all the difficulties and problems that change has brought, we can do things now on our own. And because Trump likes the Prime Minister and does seem to have a good relationship, perhaps unexpectedly, but loves the UK, loves Scotland, his mother was Scottish, of course, loves the royal family, that is really playing in our favour. So can we get a better deal?
I think the PM has to be so careful that it doesn't appear he just talks to the President about the situation in Gaza and maybe even Ukraine, when there are so many huge, urgent, pressing domestic issues.
I think Bev nailed it literally as soon as Trump got off her Air Force One. It was a question about how successful Trump has been in America stopping migrants crossing that southern border. And obviously, you know, huge unrest in this country about the illegal immigration situation. I mean, that will have to come up between Starmer and Trump, won't it, surely?
I'm sure it will. I'm sure it will. And yes, as you say, for all the international field that the Prime Minister is quite successful on, what people back at home want to know is what is the government doing for them, what is the government doing to make their lives better, and this huge sense of unfairness when they see people arriving, effectively being taxied across, put in hotels, given pocket money and so on and so forth, when so many people in this country are really, really struggling.
Absolutely.
Catherine Forster, thank you very much for bringing us up to date. Right, OK, we have got some good news for you, and it involves money, doesn't it?
It does. It's because it's the final week, so you could become £54,321 richer in our biggest cash giveaway to date.
Yeah, and lines close on Friday. So get those calls coming in now. Here's all the details you need.
There's just 4 days left to see how you could bank our biggest cash prize to date. £54,321 in tax-free cash is up for grabs in our summer Great British giveaway. Cash to spend on anything you like. All of that cash could send you on a holiday, boost your savings, or just send some of those day-to-day financial stresses packing. Lines close on the 1st of August, so make sure you don't miss out. For another chance to win, text cash to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message, or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge, or post your name and number to GB14 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 1st of August. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Now still to come, we're going to hear from Bev Turner, who is travelling to Turnberry for that meeting between Donald Trump and Sir Keir Starmer. But up next, resident doctors, they used to be called junior doctors, are on their 4th day of industrial action. The Tory leader, Kemi Badenoch, says she would ban doctors from able to go on strike. Is she right? You're with Britain's Newsroom on GB News.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
He can say whatever he wants.
A straight-talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Martin Daubney, weekdays from 3 p.m.
French authorities first seized the Lady T, and that's an Eastbourne-based fishing vessel. And next, they fined its skipper, Philip Edwards, €30,000 to release his boat. Now, the Lady T, operating legally under UK jurisdiction, was intercepted by a French patrol ship near the Somme Bay. Now, the incident has sparked massive outrage among British fishermen and is renewing calls for the government to stand firm against French overreach in national waters. Well, I'm delighted to say I'm now joining with Charlotte Edwards, who's the husband. Philip is the skipper of the Lady T and is out fishing right now. Charlotte, welcome to the show. I've got to say, here at GB News, we are hugely supportive and appreciative of British fishermen and fisherwomen. Do a fantastic job. So if you're nervous about the interview, please don't be. I want to ask you how on earth this happened. I mean, there's been a lot of talk, for example, that the Lady T didn't have the correct paperwork, it was fishing illegally, and the French decided to pounce. What's the reality?
The paperwork just slipped through. It was an admin error. The other 2 boats had the permits, and unfortunately, his didn't at the time. He wasn't in as far in as they said he was. He was about 800 metres in their water. He wasn't near the 12-mile.
He was intercepted by the Pluvier. That's a French Navy ship. No, by the way, the sort of French Navy ships that just seem to give an escort to illegal dinghies coming into British waters, suddenly pouncing into action. The only boat they've managed to stop seems to be the Lady T.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk
No,
now?
that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
The fact is Trump made a good start, no.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up?
About 10. So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m, only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hello, it's 10:26. This is Britain's Newsroom with Andrew Pearce and Dawn Neeson. Now, we've got Annunciata Rees-Mogg and Matthew Talbot in the studio going through the papers for us today. OK, who wants to start? What should we start with? Starmer to press Trump on Gaza.
You know, I'm sick of this. Why can't you go and talk about issues that really... trade tariffs?
Yeah, we've still got the open question of steel.
Yeah.
We export 630 million tonnes of steel to the US.
That's what people care about.
And they're looking at currently the higher rate tariffs.
Yeah.
He's got to negotiate that. He's got to look at what Trump did with the EU and work out how to actually negotiate, not how to just fall over and say, oh, yeah, we'll give you everything you want.
Who cares what...
Stand up for Britain.
Who cares what the British Prime Minister thinks? Because it has no bearing. Netanyahu will only listen to Trump.
Netanyahu will only listen to Trump. Netanyahu has already allowed the corridors for safe delivery of food. He has given concessions. But this is not Starmer's fight. This is Starmer grandstanding yet again on the international stage, but because of pressure from his back and front benches, listening to them and not thinking of the British people.
And we gather he's going to bring the cabinet back this week to show Action Man. But I mean, I think this is a political mistake too, because he's not going to be able to give the cabinet and Labour MPs what they want, because he's not going to agree to an immediate Palestinian state.
I would assume not, but actually at this point I wouldn't put anything past Starmer.
Does he want a trade deal with America? Does he want to get those tariffs down with America?
I think he is so weakened that he is doing whatever his backbenchers tell him to. And we know that 200 of them have written saying, we want a Palestinian state recognised.
This is the problem, isn't it, Matthew? He's damned if he does, damned if he doesn't. I'm actually almost feeling a little bit sorry for him.
Don't be ridiculous.
He's got to be so careful what he does on this situation.
Feel sorry for the Prime Minister. Feel sorry for the country and the mess
I feel sorry for the country a lot, but I mean, he's got to be. You know, even saying hello could be controversial with Trump.
Listen, he's the most disliked person in Britain, it seems, most days. And that's maybe a rod for his own back, or whether that's unfair, I don't know. I'm not sure it will take centre stage as much as being trailed. I think the key for him will be the tariffs. I think he knows that. I know Number 10 feel it's quite remote that they will get the 25% on steel lowered, and they're more hopeful on pharmaceuticals. Although I think Donald Trump in the past has said that pharmaceuticals are really special to him, so obviously that may be a bit of a battle as well. On the Gaza issue, I think it's a stain on a global conscience, and no one, I think, can be unmoved by some of the scenes we've seen again at the weekend of babies starving. It's awful, right? Regardless of whatever the terrorist group running Gaza has done, there's innocent people involved in this, and it's awful. The problem with a statehood, however, is there's 4 things you've got to meet, and that's a defined territory, which they're going to fall foul of because nobody can agree, permanent population, which they have got, a government, which is arguable, but there's somebody running things over there, and a capacity to enter into relations with other countries, which arguably they could say they've had. But the terrorists, so if we are to recognise, which I don't think we will, and Starmer being a lawyer may stand in the way of this, because it will fall foul of international law, because it's sitting states that essentially create human rights laws, decide on what is a state. And therefore, is it a bit... It's a signifier, but also meaningless at the same time. So I don't think he can win, actually, Dawn, on this.
No, I think you're right.
And I think it's picking a fight with Trump that he should be avoiding. That Trump has said that Hamas are stealing the food, that he is very much putting the blame on Hamas, not saying we should recognise them and treat them as equals, but that they are causing this humanitarian crisis. And I don't know why Starmer thinks it's a good idea to poke the wasp's nest with someone we, as the British people, need to get on with and need to trade with.
And he does. And also, we've got the 5-day visit this week. We've got the state visit In September.
Which conveniently, yet again, avoids Parliament sitting because the Labour Party can't be trusted to be polite.
I predicted that would
Trump
happen
visits.
because they don't want him addressing both houses of Parliament because there'd have been protests and walkouts.
So we give this great honour to Macron, who can give us nothing, that even the deal he supposedly gave us to stop the boats, which it won't, he can't do because he's part of the EU. Trump can actually help this country, and we don't invite him.
It's a bit small-minded, isn't it?
I don't think there would have been walkouts, you know. Any left-wing MP I've spoke to just wouldn't have gone. They don't want to make a big whole thing of it, and therefore there'd be more space for MPs and Lords that wish to attend, because it'll obviously be quite a competitive big moment. And I think there's talk of a worry of what Trump might say and whether he could be as cutting as J.D. Vance was at the Munich Security Conference on things like freedom of speech. I think Trump isn't quite always across the details, but J.D. Vance has a real intricate interest in what's going on in the UK and has done for many years. I think Trump would have enjoyed the pomp of it, and I don't know, I've spoken to people in America as well who've said we've not even noticed this. Like, he's not across their radar. I think if people around him are informed by media over here that this may be a bit offensive, then that may cause an issue. But I think he's going to enjoy seeing the King and making history, really.
OK, we've run out of time, but you are back next hour, Annunciata. And Matthew, thank you very much. We'll see you next time round, but let's get the news headlines now with Sophia Hill.
Very good morning. The headlines just after 10:30. Sir Keir Starmer will meet with US President Donald Trump for a bilateral meeting in Scotland today, with a trade deal, Gaza and Ukraine all on the agenda. And celebrations are in store as the Lionesses have retained their title as they won at the Euros women's final, beating Spain in penalties. At least 6 people have been killed after a mass shooting at a food market in Bangkok in Thailand, with fatalities including the gunman who took his own life. It's day 4 of strike action by resident doctors in England, walking out in a pay dispute that's seen the government's 5.4% offer firmly rejected. And the Justice Secretary has said she is determined to keep prison staff safe as a trial looking into the use of tasers in prisons is launched. Those are the latest headlines for now. More news at the top of the hour.
For the very latest GB News direct to your smartphone, sign up to News Alerts by scanning the QR code or go to gbnews.com/alerts.
OK, up next, outraged MPs demand action as it turns out that a government jobs site is advertising a role in a Sharia court.
How come?
This is Britain. We're going to find out. This is Britain's Newsroom on GB News. Don't go too far. We'll see you soon.
Good morning, welcome to your latest GB News weather from the Met Office. So today is starting a bit drier and brighter for many of us, a bit more in the way of sunshine around. However, still 1 or 2 isolated showers on the cards for some of us as we go through this afternoon. Almost anywhere could see a very light shower, but there will be plenty of sunshine between those showers. Probably England and Wales seeing the bulk of those showers through the afternoon, but they will be much lighter and much more scattered than we saw on Sunday. And as I say, a lot more sunshine between those showers too. Feeling really pleasantly warm in that sunshine, particularly at this time of year. The sun's fairly strong still, 24 or 25 degrees in the south and even into the low 20s across much of Scotland and Northern Ireland too. As we then head into Monday evening, there will still be some late sunshine on offer, those showers gradually starting to ease through the evening. 1 or 2 still around in places, but it should be dry for most of us to end Monday. Perhaps the sunshine turning a little hazier across the very far west of Northern Ireland into Monday evening. And across parts of Scotland too, still 1 or 2 isolated showers, particularly across the Northern Isles, to finish on Monday. As we then go through Monday night and into the start of Tuesday, that area of cloud associated with that area of rain pushes its way eastwards overnight Monday and into the start of Tuesday. Before we get there, though, there will still be plenty of dry weather around, those showers gradually easing, plenty of clear spells, but turning increasingly wet and perhaps a little breezy across parts of Scotland and Northern Ireland. And quite mild here too, temperatures generally holding up into the double figures across many towns and cities, but some rural spots perhaps starting just a little bit fresher on Tuesday morning. That area of rain then continues to sink its way south and eastward through Tuesday. It will break up, turn a little more showery in nature through the afternoon, but we could still see some heavier downpours, and there will be quite a bit more cloud around than we're seeing through today. Although temperatures will still be pretty similar, it will be feeling quite a bit more humid on Tuesday afternoon. 23, 24 degrees in the south, but still into the low 20s further north, but definitely feeling more muggy than it did over the weekend.
Crash Law 24 sponsors GB News Traffic and Travel Report.
Good morning, this is the latest AI travel news from GBNews.com. Road users should be cautious on the A9 Dornoch Bridge due to high winds. The A47 southbound from Abercynon to Pontypridd is closed for resurfacing. Diversions are in place. One lane is closed on the A19 northbound entry slip from the A1027 in Stockton-on-Tees due to a broken down vehicle. A vehicle fire on the A1 northbound in Lincolnshire has closed one lane. In Somerset, the M5 southbound has a broken down vehicle affecting one lane. And on the trains, cross-country and Great Western Railway report disruptions. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
Crash Law 24 sponsors GB News Traffic and Travel Report.
OK, it is 10:37 and a bit. This is Britain's Newsroom. Now, an advert for a Sharia law administrator, which was shared by the Department for Work and Pensions, has sparked outrage.
That includes from Reform UK leader Nigel Farage, who's claimed that Britain and its values are being destroyed.
Yeah. For context, Sharia law is a hardline Islamic code and has sparked outrage for clashing with British law, especially on women's rights, equality and justice behind closed doors.
Well, let's get a bit more on this from the commentator Fahima Mohammed. Fahima, good morning to you. Can you just explain to people watching and listening here how Sharia law operates in this country and how it appears to operate completely independently from the rule of law in this country?
Well, firstly, thank you for having me. Just want to say that there are no Sharia courts, there are Sharia councils, just like the Jewish Beth Dins and Christian tribunals, and they all operate within UK law, not outside it, because UK is not a codified constitution, and it's rich in tradition of pluralism and freedom of religion. So there's nothing that it's like abiding by sort of like law. It's only the UK law which is abiding. These are voluntary and non-binding. So basically, it can act as an arbitrary sort of with the UK Arbitration Act of 1996, which you can mediate disputes by rulings that are not legally binding. So again, it has to still comply with UK law. And nearly all cases that are dealt with these councils are related to religious marriage or divorce, most of them being like sort of financial disputes. Sharia councils cannot address criminal cases and are not a parallel legal system. In fact, it helps the system in a way where if there are any oppressions, if there are certain marriages, if a Muslim has married religiously as well as in the Christian sort of courts, then the court for divorce in the Christian UK law takes so many months, if not years, but under the Sharia sort of council, she can have and ask for a divorce much quicker and can move on with her life until, you know, the other courts in the UK can also do that. So under that way, it really does work.
Right, can I ask you...
I don't know what the outrage is.
Well, can I ask you, in a British court, it's a judge or a magistrate who presides over the court case. Who presides over the hearings in a Sharia court?
Well, you have mediators. And
well, are they all? Are any of them women?
Majority of them are sort of like seen by women. I myself have actually been given lots of cases by scholars. So they come and get some sort of legal Sharia kind of counsel, and then they get some sort of coaching from someone like myself privately so that they can have any sort of dispute. So again, it's just sort of some sort of counseling and mediation. It's nothing which is against, it is all where it is abiding by the person that is voluntarily going ahead to understand their kind of religious background. And again, it's no different to the Christian courts, the Jewish courts, They have their own tribunals, even the Sikhs, Hindus, exactly the same. It's just because, again, it's Muslims and it's for an actual advertisement that was there in the government sort of, website. But it's nothing that is against the law. They would not do that. And the reason why there's so many Sharia courts, because there's so many different types of Sharia rulings and interpretations. I might not even follow my own parents' way of thinking and believing. So I'll go to something slightly different if it came to either marriage, divorce, and financial disputes. That's what it is. It's really nothing to worry about. And it all is above board, and there are regulations and regulated as well. So if there is any kind of misconduct or anything like that, if anything, it actually enforces and even encourages women to actually go in and take more into the UK system, where mainly a lot of women in the Muslim community will only get married in the Muslim way, but they also encourage them to get married where it's recognized through the UK law. So they have much more rights when it comes to their home and properties and things like that. So again, I see it as a positive. There's nothing wrong. I think everyone gets really scared when they hear the word Sharia. There's a lack of understanding and misrepresentation. And if anything, it actually alleviates any of the oppression or anything that happens, which is not in line with UK law, as well as the Islamic faith in most cases.
Fahima, I mean, as you say, comparatively, there is a Jewish comparison, but we very rarely hear complaints about the way women are treated by the Beth Din, the Jewish comparison. But under the Sharia law courts, I mean, you can declare a divorce, but it's not legally binding for a start, is it?
It is. It definitely is.
Under Sharia law, but not British law.
It is, because it depends how it was done in the first place. So some actual Muslim sort of mosques will actually be recognised in the actual Islamic, UK sort of law. They are recognised. So at the end of the day, it is that. But to be honest, the reason why you don't hear about it is because people don't actually talk about anything other than Islam, and always in a negative way. But if you go into a Jewish area like Finsbury, they have their own ambulance. They have their own sort of ways in which they police themselves. They do so many things which is actually not integration, as most likely that most people would want to hear and see. We are, as Muslims, trying to integrate, but with the freedoms that Britain allows to have religious views and our own ways. But again, it's not legally binding under the UK law. No, it's only voluntarily.
With respect, Fahima, I mean, you're comparing the two again, but I mean, we don't hear of honour killing in the Jewish religion, for example, in the UK, but we do have, sadly, instances of that in the UK.
That is, again, isolated cases, which is not in line with the faith itself. It is cultural. I myself do always have called out things like this, just because you see that, just like we don't have anything. Everything that has been highlighted about Islam is not even in line with Islam. And that's what people don't understand, is other people's interpretations, and they've hijacked the faith, just like they would anywhere else. And just because you haven't heard it doesn't mean it doesn't exist. Like I said, the propaganda's there, the rhetoric's there. And again, there's always a binoculars and a specific spotlight just on the religion of Islam, especially when it comes to anything negative. And then it's blown up 100 times over and the algorithm just goes wild. But if you were to actually research and look, you have the same issues and the same problems in every other faith, except for people just don't want to talk about it and address it. And I can definitely pull out 100 different cases, which is still not in line with UK law, which is of other faiths and groups, but it's just that we don't ever talk about that. And we just want to look at Islam as being the only person that is misogynistic, oppression, this, that, and the other. I'm not saying it doesn't happen. It happens. It happens in every group. It even happens amongst atheists. It happens amongst people that have absolutely no faith at all. These Sharia councils are not there to go anywhere against the law of the UK. My faith alone is nothing to do with anything against UK law. That is first and foremost. And anyone, even as a Muslim, that says anything other than that, I will even counter and challenge that. And so will any other decent, knowledgeable counsellor or scholar.
OK, Fahima, thank you very much. But I do look forward to you providing us with an example of an honour killing within the Jewish faith in the UK. Fahima, thank you very much indeed for joining us. OK, that's commentator Fahima Mohammed there. OK. Okay, now a Department for Work and Pension spokesperson has said this is a position being advertised on the Find a Job portal by an independent registered charity and is not within the Department for Work and Pensions. Find a Job is a free platform to help with job seekers find vacancies with employers from various
So if
sectors.
it's all fine, why have they taken it down?
There is that question, yeah.
They've taken it down because there's been an outcry, as there should have been, because it is effectively the government endorsing a post-for sharia law by putting it on a government website.
Well, we have gone to them for a comment. You've heard the comment they gave us, but they haven't explained why they have taken it down if there's not a problem with it.
Quite. Now, if you're in search of some holiday sun, here's the forecast of some of those top European destinations.
I forecast a perfect holiday in the sun.
Weather looking good then?
For sure, and no worries about our travel insurance.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Hello there. We've got some severe thunderstorms on the way across many parts of Italy and the Balkans on Monday and Tuesday. But the good news is the extreme heat across Greece and Turkey is slowly easing, though there are unfortunately still a few wildfires around in places. Those showers also across parts of Italy, maybe the Pyrenees as well. But most of Iberia dry, sunny and settled, as indeed it will be across parts of Madeira and the Canary Islands. Lots of sunshine on the way and very warm, if not hot, over the next few days.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's Political Podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
Britain was once the envy of the world, but look around. A nation that no longer knows what it is or where it's going. A country that's broken. How do we fix Britain? How do we bring it back? Friday night with Matt Goodwin at 8 p.m.
Only on GB News. You've read the headlines, you've heard what those in power have to say. How about now we actually get to the truth?
They would pay attention.
We go beyond the political theatre and tell you what's really going on behind the scenes. For a massive council tax hike, one of the biggest in the UK. Others follow their lines, but we go off script.
You sound like a broken record. You say that week after week.
Cutting through the narratives and giving you unique perspectives. That's Ben Leo tonight, Saturdays and Sundays from 9 p.m. on GB News, Britain's news channel.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
So he can say whatever he wants.
A straight talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m. weekdays here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, you didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Good Afternoon Britain isn't just about us. The wonderful thing about this programme is it's about everyone watching. It's an interactive programme.
Well, there absolutely is something to see here, and we're going to be talking about it more. Whether it's breaking royal news, please bring us up to date, or indeed a particularly punchy speech in the House of Commons.
Very, very curious.
We bring it to you live, and then we bring you live reaction as well.
That's Good Afternoon Britain, weekdays from midday.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK.
We're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News.
The People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
10:50 Britain's News on GB News. Let's go straight to Scotland, where our very own Bev Turner is with President Trump in Scotland. Bev, morning. Have you seen the President yet?
Morning, guys. No, not yet. We're just in the press room
behind the scenes. I've got my Trump Turnberry coffee cup, though, just to prove to you that I really am here. We're waiting here basically until we get the nod to run out, hopefully to see Donald Trump and Keir Starmer together. These occasions, I'm realising, are a little bit sort of hurry up and wait. We think that the Prime Minister and the President might be meeting outdoors today. Yesterday, you might have seen Trump with Ursula von der Leyen in the amazing ballroom, in the grand ballroom here at Turnberry. Well, the weather is surprisingly nice for Scotland. The sun is out, it isn't raining. So there's a chance that we will get to talk to these two world leaders, but we won't be in the ballroom. We'll be outside, I think, on the golf course. We're just waiting to hear.
And what's the atmosphere like, Bev? Is there a lot of excitement?
I think amongst the press, they're all fairly used to this sort of thing. I mean, I still feel a little bit like a competition winner because I came on Air Force One, and I'm still really excited about the whole ordeal. But I think a lot of people here have done this sort of thing before. You know, we've had an influx this morning of the British press. So I'm with the international corps who came over on Air Force One, and there are about 13 of us. But the British press are here as well today. They're all obviously keen to get their own questions into Starmer. It will be that setting where, you know, we just all go for it if we can and throw a question out in that direction. I got lucky on Friday when we were on the runway at Prestwick Airport, Glasgow Prestwick Airport, when we landed on Air Force One, and I asked him about immigration, and of course he gave us that line about the fact that Europe has to get its act together because mass migration, said Trump, is killing Europe, and that might make for a slight tension, obviously, when he sees Keir Starmer, because for Trump, curing is the word I was going to say, but solving illegal migration on his southern border has been by far his biggest triumph since being in office for what is effectively 5 minutes, you know, not even a year in office, compared to Keir Starmer, who has increasing numbers of people arriving illegally in our country. So it would be great if they could have some sort of conversation about that today.
Tell us about the security, Bev, because I can remember a Clinton visit many years ago, and the security was extraordinary.
The security is immense, as you would imagine, on an occasion like this. There are metal fences all around, and the Turnberry golf course itself is absolutely incredible. I haven't been here before, and it's a links golf course, so it looks onto the beach. It is right onto the beach. Now, that's a big area to have to try and police, obviously, under these circumstances. So there are so many police officers, so many Secret Service. You can just see snipers on the roofs. There are police vans everywhere. There's a huge amount of security. So when we want to go to the loo here in Turnberry, they take us all en masse as a big group to go to the loo, and then you come back. It's like the world's most glamorous school trip to some extent. So that's been really interesting for me to see how all that works behind the scenes. We have our accreditations on. You get new accreditation every day. When you arrive at the golf course, you have to give your driving license, or I haven't got my passport because the American government have got my passport, but you have to give some sort of accreditation to the Secret Service. They take it away, they check you are who you are, and then you have to go through the scanners. The whole body gets scanned, just like at an airport. Your bags all get scanned. There are sniffer dogs everywhere. The security is immense, understandably.
I mean, Bev, the conference yesterday, there was very few people in it. You were obviously very visible there. You were asking brilliant questions. What's it like being in asking Trump directly, just a few foot away from him? And there seemed to be a lot of eye contact. He seemed to be quite warm towards you.
He was very warm towards us. I think I get the sense that in America as well, this administration are incredibly frustrated by how the press depicts Donald Trump. There is a very simplistic assessment that he is, you know, unpredictable. And yes, we know that he likes to talk around the houses sometimes. It can be hard to keep him on message. But the feeling I'm getting is that the White House are very pleased that GBNews is involved in this, because I think we will bring coverage of his administration in a fair way. I mean, I am bringing my own inquiring mind to this. I'm not here as anybody that's necessarily, you know, in support of Donald Trump, but I'm very interested in how he's running his team. One thing that has struck me is how many strong women work for Donald Trump. It's a very female organisation. A lot of them, very young mums, a lot of them, they tell me about how the fact that they've got children, they don't have to travel, and Donald Trump completely supports that. A very family-first organisation, which is very much in opposition to the stereotype of Donald Trump. People say, oh, he has a woman problem, doesn't he? He doesn't like women. I can tell you, from what I'm seeing here, he is surrounded by smart, strong women who are calm, who are doing an amazing job and organising a lot of the events behind the scenes. So I'm finding it a really fascinating experience. And I think what also struck me is he always looks very orange on the telly. He doesn't look very orange in real life. There's this idea that sometimes TV channels change the colouring just to, make him look a bit more orange. He looks younger actually than he is in real life. I think he's very strong. He's kind of got quite a foreboding physical presence. He's getting quite busy in here. I think they've all just returned from the loo.
I think, Bev, it looks like you're about to be searched again for security and we're running out of time, unfortunately. We'll catch up with you in the next hour. Thank you very much, Bev. But coming up, Nigel Farage is speaking about law and order. You don't want to miss that. This is Britain's Newsroom on GB News. We'll see you soon.
It's the final week to see how you can win big, as there's an incredible £54,321 in tax-free cash to be won. What would you spend it on? The holiday of a lifetime? Or just sit back, relax and remove some of those day-to-day financial stresses? Lines close on the 1st of August, so make sure you don't miss out. For another chance to win, text cash to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB14 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 1st of August. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
no,
because the failure is...
You're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Good Afternoon Britain isn't just about us. The wonderful thing about this programme is it's about everyone watching. It's an interactive programme.
Well, there absolutely is something to see here, and we're going to be talking about it more. Whether it's breaking royal news, please bring us up to date, or indeed a particularly punchy speech in the House of Commons.
Very, very curious.
We bring it to you live, and then we bring you live reaction as well.
That's Good Afternoon Britain, weekdays from midday.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK.
We're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News.
The People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
Westminster, the ultimate clique.
And you're fighting like rats in a sack.
But here on the Camilla Tominey Show, we ask the questions the establishment media is too scared to ask.
OK, let me ask you a straight question, because I know you're a straight-talking politician.
Whether it's net zero, illegal immigration or law and order, nothing is off limits.
You had the power then.
Yeah, as I
and now you've lost it.
That's the Camilla Tominey Show, a politics show that's fearless.
But no, let me finish my question if you don't mind, because it is my show.
Sundays at 9:30, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Morning, 11 o'clock on Monday, the 28th of July, live across the UK. Britain's Newsroom with Andrew Pearce and Dawn Neeson.
Well done. Now, a meeting of the Titans this afternoon.
Your Prime Minister, slightly more liberal than I am, as you've probably heard, but he's a good man. He got a trade deal done.
So Keir Starmer will meet President Trump today at his golf course in Turnberry. A trade deal, Gaza, Ukraine, all on the agenda. Bev Turner, our very own, won't miss a moment.
That's right. I travelled over with the Trump team on Air Force One from Washington, D.C. on Friday. And given that Donald Trump told GB News as he landed that he believes that Europe is being killed by so much migration, will that comment make for a tense conversation with our Prime Minister?
I think it's great that we made a deal today instead of playing games and maybe not making a deal at all. I think it's... I'm going to let you say it, but I think it's the biggest deal ever made. Thank you very much. Congratulations.
And deal secured. President Trump announces an EU trade deal with 15% tariffs just days before that August 1st deadline.
Yes, they did it, didn't they? 2 days of celebrations as England's women win the Euros back-to-back. Today they're going to number 10, tomorrow the big one, an open-top bus parade in central London.
Staff have been crying out for tasers to be authorised for use across the adult male estate, and I was very pleased to be able to sign off on this trial. It will run over the summer period.
Yes, that's the Justice Secretary, and she wants to keep prison staff safe as she announces a taser trial in Mall prisons. Mark White joins prison officers for a training session.
At this security facility, a mock scenario of the type of violence that's all too common within our prisons.
I think this is going to infuriate you. Bobby's on the tweet, not the street. The Home Office has put together an elite police squad to monitor anti-migrant posts on social media. That's its response to those disturbances in Epping and other places over migrant hotels.
Lovely. And Sharia job backlash. MPs demand a Sharia court job advert based in Manchester is removed from the government. Well, it has been removed, actually. Considering the government is saying there was nothing wrong with it, they've removed it.
Farage is doing his press conference in London. We will be going to that. We're told there's going to be a guest unveiled, a surprise guest.
Yes.
Is it, do you think, possibly the top cop who arrested Levi Belfield and some other...
This is your theory,
criminals?
isn't it?
Yeah.
We don't think it's another defection, do we?
No, I've not heard even a whisper of that. But, well, we can go there right now. Let's listen to Reform leader Nigel Farage.
Nothing to worry about at all. Well, he's relying on the crime survey for England and Wales. This excludes crimes such as shoplifting. It excludes what they call victimless crimes, such as drug possession, and even the possession of weapons. It also has no weighting whatsoever for high crime areas, and really rather depends on whether people want to fill out the survey or not. And when it comes to shoplifting, well, it's complete nonsense, obviously. Just one example. The House of Lords Justice and Home Affairs Committee estimated that the true extent of shoplifting last year was 17 million incidents. So the CSEW, as far as we're concerned, is pretty much discredited as a means of measuring crime. And I think we all know that crime has risen significantly over the course of the last few years. And most of us now just don't even bother to report crime. Firstly, because we don't think the police will do anything about it. And secondly, because if we have our mobile phone stolen and we report it and claim on the insurance, the premium will double or treble. And that goes for much household crime as well. Over the course of the last week, migrant crime has been a very, very big debate around the country following the episode that took place at the Bell Hotel in Epping. And over the course of the next few weeks, we will delve more deeply into this. There is an alarming parallel between the extraordinary increase in the number of reported rapes and the wholly irresponsible immigration and asylum policies pursued by first Labour and then by Conservative governments. And even to have said that a couple of years ago would have been difficult without being shouted down. And I'd felt that we'd finally come to a place where we could honestly talk about crime, where we could honestly talk about the fact we want the right types of people from different countries coming into Britain, not the wrong types of people. We were even able last week to mention the fact that Afghan men are 22 times more likely to be convicted of rape than British-born nationals. And in the Sun national newspaper this morning, you'll see the figure they report there, that for sexual assaults in London, over the course of the last 7 years, 40% of them have been committed by non-British nationals. So I'd felt that things were genuinely opening up for a proper, rational, sane debate without being shouted down. Until the Online Safety Act came into being this weekend, which begins to look, although state suppression of genuine free speech may be upon us already. And I'm going to ask Zia Youssef, who has studied this in detail, to give us a brief. Zia.
Hello, good morning, everyone. Look, Britain is descending rapidly into some kind of dystopia. This Online Safety Act, Orwellianly named, what it does absolutely nothing to protect children. What it does do is suppress freedom of speech in this country and really force social media companies to censor anti-government speech. I want to make a few points about this act. It's about a couple of hundred pages long, so one questions how many people actually read it, including the Tory MPs who voted and waved it through unanimously. The first section I want to draw your attention to is section 44, which gives the Secretary of State the ability to force Ofcom unilaterally to rewrite the rules about what speech social media platforms must censor. And that is a pretty terrifying thing for a single individual to have. In fact, it's the sort of thing that I think Xi Jinping himself would blush at the concept of. Then there's section 179, which is maybe even more insidious, which is to say it is illegal to say something which you know to be false, which causes, quote, and I quote, non-trivial psychological harm. And it's actually much worse than making that speech illegal. Forces social media companies to proactively censor that speech. The third point I want to make is look at the penalties that are being imposed on the social media companies who are subject to this act. You're talking about 10% of global revenues, and look, they know what they're doing in drafting this legislation. They are trying to create a perverse set of incentives so that if you're a management team, a chief executive or a board trying to protect your shareholder value, and most of these companies are international, so the UK is a tiny sliver of their revenue, so what are they going to do? They're going to be overzealous on their censorship. And by the way, it's not just 10% of global revenues, it goes further than that. The management teams of these social media companies are being threatened with jail time. And look, Elon is a hero in terms of freedom of speech, but I think even the mighty Elon is going to struggle to get his management teams to put their freedom at stake when it comes to censorship. So we're already seeing the results of this. It's been about 48 hours now since this kicked in. We've seen a few things. Number one, VPN providers are publishing their stats of, increases in sign-ups in the UK, up thousands of percent. Evidence, by the way, that the 13, 14, 15-year-olds know far more about how the internet works than the dinosaurs that drafted this legislation and voted it through. But it also shows, if you go onto X, you will have seen there was a protest in Leeds against illegal immigration and a migrant hotel in the local area that has been actively suppressed. There are many other examples surfacing now. And again, this is X, which I would probably bet will be still the strongest in terms of maintaining free speech. But one can hardly blame these companies when this is what the legislation states. And then within that same 48-hour period, we've heard that the government, number 10, has created, and I quote, an elite police force in response to the migrant situation. Now, you might think that was because of the risk of so much anger around crimes being committed by illegal migrants, by people being deposited into communities from alien cultures with no say for local people, and looking to ensure that those illegal migrants do not commit crimes. Of course, you'd be wrong. It is the opposite. This elite police force has been set up in order to, quote, monitor anti-migrant sentiment. So I use the word dystopia advisedly. Inevitably, if you look through history, any student of history will know that the way countries slip into this sort of authoritarian regime is through legislation that cloaks tyranny inside the warm fuzz of safety and security, and hope nobody reads the small print. Well, we have read the small print. We at Reform we think this is the greatest assault on freedom of speech in our lifetimes, and I can announce today that as Prime Minister, Nigel Farage and a Reform government will repeal the Online Safety Act. Yes, we agree children need to be protected. This does not protect children. I want to stress this. I actually think people who actually understand tech, and I want to stress the people who drafted this and voted it through do not understand it, can understand that sending all of these kids onto VPNs is a far worse situation and sends them much closer to the dark web where real dangers lie. So it actually makes children less safe on the internet, while, of course, and perhaps this was the intention all along, makes freedom of speech for British people under mortal threat. And the final thing I want to say is we should not forget who birthed this bill, which is now an act, who voted and nodded it through without any opposition, other than in some cases, like Mr. Philp, arguing it didn't go far enough. So the people who did this were the Tories, including, by the way, the ones who now present themselves as against all of these horrors, people like Suella Braverman, people like Robert Jenrick, who, in my view, represent the most insidious form of politician, people who tell us all of the things we want to hear, but when they had power in their hands and could do something about it, they sold us out when it counts. So Reform believes in freedom of speech. I don't think there is a political figure in our lifetimes who has a longer track record of decades, other than Nigel, who has spoken out about this, and we will repeal this act as one of the first things a Reform government does. Thank you very much.
Zia, thank you very much. And I think so far, OK, it may only have been a couple of days, but thus far there has been far too little debate in mainstream media about this issue. Clearly, what is happening, and happened very, very quickly. Millions of people have noticed that what they're getting on their feeds is different to what it was just this time last week. Well, we're now going to move on, not to talk about elite police units that crack down on comments on the internet. Now, we're now going to talk about real policing and about a real policeman, somebody with a very, very distinguished career. Before I introduce Colin Sutton to you, here's a short video just to remind people of his history and his background.
Crime is going unchecked all over the place, all over the country. I'm Colin Sutton. I was a police officer for 30 years. I was fortunate enough to lead a marvellous team when we were investigating some of the nastiest and most publicised murders, I suppose, of the first part of this century. We convicted the serial killer Levi Belfield, the serial rapist and night stalker Delroy Grant. I get known as a detective. I'd rather be known as a leader. My number one thing really was to look after the team. Leaders now tend to think an awful lot about themselves and their own careers rather than their team and the community, and I think we need to go back to that if we're going to have policing succeed and policing to return to something that is accepted and welcomed by the community. Two-tier policing, two-tier criminal justice system is one that's been bandied about a lot. I don't think it's an unfair thing to say. I think the perceptions are real. You've only got to look through the news, through social media, at the disparity between sentences for different crimes or for people from different communities or from different ideologies. And I start asking myself, and say, well, how can it be? How do we end up in this situation where these disparities are there? But they're real. First reason for that is just simply numbers. Officers in London particularly are going from blue light call to blue light call to blue light call, and they haven't got time to speak to people, they haven't got time to find out about their community. There's too much work to do, that things are not happening in the criminal justice system quickly enough, decisively enough. 14 years of the Tories caused it, it happened on their watch. We made a difference when I was in the police service, there's no doubt about that, and I thought, well, maybe I've got an opportunity now to make a difference with another team, and so that team, I think, is Reform. I believe in it. The greatest asset Reform has in some ways is our leader, because he is a communicator. We need to be able to replicate that locally so people will follow us. It's about teamwork and it's about one voice, taking other people with us. I think the best chance of making sure we turn this round and we make this change is if we have a Reform UK government. Britain is lawless. Britain needs reform.
So Colin Sutton is about to embark on his second big career, and I'm very pleased to say he's also announced that he intends not just to stand for us at the next general election, but to head up a law and order and policing task force so that we can go into the next general election ready on day one to start doing the right things to reverse lawlessness and take back control of the streets. So we really are, as a party, absolutely delighted to welcome Colin Sutton on board. Colin. Welcome.
Well, I'm so glad to be here. Hello, everybody. Thank you for coming, I suppose. Just have to say, an elite team looking at tweets would not be my experience of the police service, but we'll gloss over that one for the moment, I think. You might be asking why I'm here. Why reform? Why now? Why do this? Why not get my handicap below 11? I don't know. I do know, actually. It's because for 14 years we saw the Conservatives wreck our country and wreck, for me, the most important institution in that country, which is our police service. The police service is part of what I see as the 3 pillars of a decent life. You need to be healthy, you need to have an income, and you need to be secure in your home and on the streets as you're living that life. And if we fail on any one of those 3, then people cannot think things are getting better. The decline in public service is just amazing. I don't, you know, so many people last July said, well, it can't get any worse. Actually, privately, I think it could. I thought it could, but many thought it couldn't. Well, what's happened? It's not only got worse. I find every single day I'm thinking to myself, is Rishi Sunak still holding Keir Starmer's beer? The obvious situation to address that, it started in 2010. It started with the decline with austerity, with the withdrawal of resources, which means now that our police services have sold the family silver entirely across the estate. And they're not going to get any more money or more resources from this government, are they? The only place where resources from this government will go into policing are the Chagos Islands. It's not going to happen. We can find savings. There are savings to be made. Do you know that police forces in this country spend anywhere between £10 and £70 million a year on DEI initiatives? And what I want us to do is to ask the people out there who are people who are police and who want these people to be working for them, whether or not they see that as the priority. Because if you need some help, if you need police officers, if you need help quickly, do you actually care who comes through the door? You want 2 trained, competent officers to solve your emergency there and then, and you're not going to ask them how they voted or what their heritage is. It doesn't make any difference. Reform have said that they want to increase the number of officers by 30,000 within the next Parliament. I will be pushing for them to add to that the commitment, or at least the ambition, to open at least 300 front counter police buildings. Because as far as I am concerned, we have lost too many. We've lost nearly 700 public access police buildings across this country since 2010. The Metropolitan Police in London is going soon to go down to having only 18 points of public access in the whole of London. When I was working, that was well over 100. And it's no good saying that internet access and online access is a replacement for it, for 2 reasons. One is that the aged, the infirm and the generally vulnerable may well find difficulties in using the internet or indeed getting access to it. But secondly, and what's more important, is it's a lot harder to turn somebody down if they're face to face with you pleading for help, than it is if you've got an email in a stack.
We need to re-engage. We need to re-engage. We need to be more visible. Because at the moment, we've got a response team that you can't guarantee turns up because there are too few of them, and those that are there are wasting their time driving long distances because there are no police stations anymore, and then even longer distances because there's no custody suites to take the prisoners to if they do arrest somebody, and then driving back again. You can lose 5 hours out of an 8-hour tour of duty just driving about to your patrol area, driving to a custody area and back. How is that productive? Investigations. All crimes that are reported used to be looked at. They weren't all investigated with vigour. You have to be realistic about this. There are too many of them. But every single one is looked at by somebody who's experienced, somebody knows what they're looking at, and they make a decision as to whether or not the investigation carries on. Nowadays, too many crimes are just given a reference number for the insurance company and forgotten about. That can't happen. And in terms of public order, it's very difficult. You need to show that public order is being policed fairly, that it's being policed impartially. The recent judgment in the court about Avon and Somerset, about Northumbria, has helped us to that degree, I think, because it takes away the idea that police officers are going to get involved in any kind of public display of partiality to one cause or another. That's a good step forwards. But in terms of how we police public order, I, in this task force, want to get people who know. I did public order policing up until about 30 years ago, I suppose, for about the first 10 years of my career, and I know a bit about it, but I want people who know more about it. And they might be able to explain to us why it is that some bodies, some organisations, are perhaps more clever in the way that they mount their protests compared to others, and that's why you get the different levels of policing. I don't know. There may be reasons for it. We need to look at that. But if we're going to rebuild trust in the police service, we need to re-engage with the community. We need to re-engage with the real community, not with community leaders, so-called. How do you become a community leader? Who advertises it? Where's the job description? We need to do the things that matter to real people. I can't believe, I've known thousands of police officers over my life, past and present, and I can't believe that any one of those would tell me that he or she joined up, signed on the dotted line to serve King and country, or Queen and country in the past, because they wanted to police social media. I used to go home as a young police officer to my family and say, brilliant job last night, mean streets of Tottenham, yes, we arrested a burglar. That's what you join for. Do these days go home and say, found a fantastic offensive tweet today? And I'm sure the answer to that is no. I'm sure that's not what they want to be doing. So then the question is, why is it that they're doing it, that they're doing what they're doing? And I'll tell you what it is, what I think it is. I think it is the fact that our leadership is caring more about itself and its own career than it is about their team, important to me, and the community, important to everybody. And so, like most organisations, the police service is no different. It has been captured by a liberal ideology, and people are too scared of bucking against that ideology. And so when the decision comes up to make, do we go this way, do we go that way, well, that way is going to give me a massive black mark because it doesn't fit in with the trend. I'm not going to get promoted. Let's do that instead. Yeah, but the public won't like that. Doesn't matter. They're not the ones that promote me, are they? The dilemma that the officers often have is what is the least worst decision for me. It should be what is the best decision for the community. I think we need to refocus what police are doing onto homes and streets and not posts and tweets. That's the most important thing. That's the most important thing for the people out there who want their... But you ought to be able to walk out of here with a decent watch on. I left mine at home today. You ought to be able to go out there and call an Uber on your iPhone. But I wouldn't do it once I got out the door in London these days. There's a phone stolen every 60 seconds in London. How can that be right? How can that be right? How can we let that happen? So what I want to do is to get this task force together. I've had some people, do you know, already volunteer to me that they want to assist me. Good people, people who know things. Policy, prevention, processes. Police officers who are watching or listening to this will smile when I say the 3 Ps, because that means something else in policing. I won't go into that here. Okay? But policy, prevention and the processes is what we will look at. And we will come up with a plan that takes us back, takes back control, makes Britain not the lawless place it's becoming. Thank you very much.
Colin, thank you very much indeed. Now, we will move to questions, of which there are quite a few. I think you can direct the questions to me. Do I have a press list, Ed? I do, I've got it. You can direct the questions to anybody here. There's a handheld mic at the side. Let us begin with Alex Forsyth, BBC.
Hi, thank you so much. You say you want to repeal the Online Safety Act. What, if anything, would you replace it with? Or do your concerns about free speech outweigh any concerns about children accessing suicide material, self-harm content or pornography? And Donald Trump's in the UK today. That issue of steel tariffs still unresolved. Do you think that Donald Trump's tariffs have been good for British business?
Point one, as Zia made perfectly clear, of course we want to find a way of protecting young people from not getting hold of harmful or dangerous content. But if a result of what we've seen over the weekend is driving people off towards VPNs, to potentially towards the dark web, we might find young people accessing even more dangerous content than they were before this legislation came in. So, would we do our best to find a way of making this work? Yes, but frankly, Zia is far more tech savvy than I am, so I'm going to take his word for it. His belief is that those that drafted this act genuinely didn't understand how the tech world works and have produced something with the very best of intentions, but the result of which, frankly, does lead us towards a very dystopian place. Trump and tariffs, look, we're better off than being in the European Union, I think is the answer. And it's ironic, isn't it, that Keir Starmer says, look, we're doing better than Brussels, that Keir Starmer says, look at this great deal we've got with India, and the most anti-Brexit, pro-second referendum Prime Minister, ironically, is actually benefiting in some ways from Brexit. Mind you, given everything else that's going on with his career at the moment, I guess he does need the odd good turn. Adam Cherry, GB News.
Thank you. Prime Minister's meeting the President today. Are you planning to meet President Trump whilst he's here? Are you still speaking to him, or have relations cooled with the President?
No, when he was up in Turnberry last May, I think I was there for GB News actually, but I was there and I stayed there, and I was obviously back for the campaign in November, and I was in Mar-a-Lago on the 5th and 6th. I'm in a slightly awkward position now, or he's in a slightly awkward position with me. I can't just bowl up on a friendly trip for diplomatic reasons, whilst he's there with the Prime Minister negotiating steel tariffs and much else. It just doesn't work. Am I on good terms? I had dinner with Donald Trump Jr. the other week. I'm in good terms. I'm on good terms with the administration. My relationship with Trump has always been one of friendship, but right at the moment, diplomatically, it doesn't really work. Justine from ITV.
So a big part of your policing plan will require more resources for forces. How much will this cost, and where will the additional funding come from? And just secondly, on the online safety bill, if you get rid of this legislation, are you confident that social media platforms can police this content themselves?
Okay. Well, the answer to that.
So that's the Nigel Farage press conference. The big surprise wasn't a surprise, of course. That was Colin Sutton who was trailed in my paper today in the Mail that he was going to join Reform. I thought he was going to be the surprise guest. Not a brilliant speaker, Matthew Talbot.
I think he would be, you know, listen, I can't criticise anything about his policing career. He's
Sure, he had a great
big
career.
Scalps.
Put 30 murderers behind bars.
Yeah, listen, it's nothing to be balked at, but totally lacking in charisma. I think he had the charisma of sort of a regional bingo hall caller. And
harsh.
The voice, no, but the voice of like a train driver announcement. It was very dry, and I think that's where Reform missed a trick, really. I think for all the pomp and Nigel being full of charisma, you know, Zia Yusuf is like a plank of wood. I enjoy it when he goes out every day on the media because he's not an electoral asset. Colin Sutton would obviously be quite useful behind the scenes, but he probably wants to have a little crack at being an MP, fair enough. But I think get into discipline early. Write his speech for him. Make sure it's tight.
Because it was too long.
You've missed the power of 3. We're going to do X, Y, Z. And you repeat, we're going to do X, Y, Z. And people know exactly what you're going to do. And that way he knows how it's going to run as well from minute 1.
And that's the answer. Does it matter about his delivery? Surely it matters what he does. More frontline officers, carrying tasers, reopening multiple police stations, stop police investigating online spats, repeal the safety bill straight away.
Yes, actually, I completely agree that his delivery is to a huge extent irrelevant. You want the right things to be done. The real problem with him is he's a fantastic former copper. He understands everything about the policing side. But not once did he mention why we don't have coppers on the streets, why they are stuck behind desks, filling out red tape, complying with the Human Rights Act, following Crown Prosecution Service instructions on who to pursue, who not to. That there's the College of Policing, the National Police Chairs Committee, that there are so many layers of this that are way above the police. You've got the quangos, you've got the regulation, you've got the legislation. And yet again, it seems that Reform are just not tackling the detail. And these are great headlines. I remember in the 2010 election, running on a platform of we'll put more police on the streets, we'll cut the red tape, we'll reopen the police stations. And you get down to it and you can't, because there are regulations, legislation and quangos that stop you the whole way. And that's what we need to grasp as a country to make sure we can, and this just isn't getting it.
That's a good point, isn't it? I mean, you may not agree about the Human Rights Act, but I mean, the Human Rights Act is at the heart of a lot of these problems.
Yeah, I think it can be. Legally, you're always going to struggle. I think I made the point last week, Suella Braverman had come out with this is the legal way that we leave. And she said, you know, Northern Ireland, for instance, isn't intrinsically tied to things like the ECHR, Human Rights Act. Well, in fact, it is. That's the problem. It is absolutely embedded within there. It must remain part of that. So Northern Ireland, a bit like during Brexit, becomes an issue of what you do about it. The other devolved governments of Wales and Scotland are also part of it. So I think this is where I think, you know, Reform may have a ceiling at the moment purely because of the people they're bringing in. The quality is not there, and the fact that it appears, to me anyway, as a retirement home for disillusioned Tories, and they aren't able to yet bring out some sort of Labour type, even an old Labour type.
Didn't he tell us that he'd been a member of the Tory party since the 70s?
I'd read this morning he'd been a long-time Tory member, which, again, plays into that again. So is it a surprise that people are fed up with the Tories and going, well, they're basically like the Tories, we'll go with that? I think to ensure you've got a broader base, you've got to be welcoming, which I'm sure they will be. But why aren't people on the soft left, the centre left, willing to join your project? And what overtures are being made, I suppose? And yeah, no, I think they'll have a ceiling because of that. And if that is going to be, you know, one of your future front benchers potentially, or you're making such a scene of it, not really the sort of calibre of person I want running the country, not even from a political point of view, somebody that's a bit of an old duffer, really.
I think that's a bit harsh. I mean, lots of people online saying Annunziata is spot on. Get rid of the quangos, save money, introduce a British Department of Government Efficiency.
We do need to do that, but we need to bring back democratic answerability, that ministers decide, and those policies are enacted. And unfortunately, at the moment, the police cannot even do that if they want to.
And the judges have so much power now.
They do.
And that was all down to Blair and the Human Rights Act.
Yep, and they can't arrest people because of human rights legislation. And that's why the Conservatives are looking into the whole of the ECHR and the Human Rights Act and how it applies it in the UK together to make sure that you can unpick the whole thing.
Yeah. Now, in the last few minutes, stay with us, guests. The Lionesses have set off from Zurich. Oh, I thought they were in Basel. On their journey home after winning the Euros. In case you hadn't noticed, they won. Here's the screen.
Let's have a look at... Yeah, we can see...
So if you listen on the radio, they're getting in the... They don't look terribly hungover, although I imagine they must be, one or two of them. That's the manager. What's her name?
Serena Wiegmann.
Soon to be Dame, in my view.
Yeah, that's... these are they live pictures? I think they are actually live pictures. The latest
running for
pictures.
The bus. Why are they all wearing purple?
That is the team kit.
Right.
That's the training kit.
Oh, is it?
Yes.
Why purple?
That is a question I can't answer you about football. To be honest with you, I think it's just the training kit. But I mean, they look remarkably fresh. Considering they must have been partying all night.
Did you watch it, Matthew?
I did. I was chuffed for him, actually. I was worried when Spain went 1-0 up. And I think it was nice. I know we were all talking off air about them speaking about being proud to be English.
Very good to hear that.
And I think talking about grit and you know, not giving up. And they embolden a lot of what people are proud to be English about. You know, they've not given the whole tournament. I've seen the last 3 or 4 games. And it makes you proud. It does make you proud. I was really chuffed for him last night.
Yeah, I didn't watch any of it, Annunziata, but I was thrilled they won. Yes, quite. I was thrilled they won. You were listening on the radio, weren't you?
I was. I've got a strong recommendation for everyone watching and listening to GBNews.
Because you were driving your car.
Do not listen to a penalty shootout of your country in an international final whilst driving.
Right.
Luckily, I was stopped at traffic lights for the very last goal. As we won, and what a moment. But then to hear Chloe Kelly and Hannah Hampton express their pride in being English really brought the tears to my eyes. Are we allowed to have pride again?
Yeah, I mean,
I
was in tears. And I was genuinely in tears. I thought it was a genuinely good game of football to watch. It was good football. I was so pleased for them. And, yeah, it's a feel-good factor, and we need it.
We do.
And they are rewarded with a visit to Downing Street, hosted by...
Antje Rayner, because our first woman deputy prime minister.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that's quite telling. And Keir Starmer is a great football fan in Scotland with Donald Trump. I know he'd rather be.
And considering a lot of the Lionesses actually play for Arsenal as well, which is his team.
Do they?
Matthew and Annunziata, thank you so much for joining us this morning. OK, up next, tasers are going to be used in prisons for the first time to tackle what's being called unacceptably high levels of violence. Is this long overdue, though? This is British Newsroom on GB News. Don't go too far. We'll see you soon.
Hello, very good day to you. This is your latest GB News weather update from the Met Office. Now, as we go through the rest of today, yes, there will be a few showers around, but perhaps slightly fewer than we saw over the weekend, and some decent bright sunny spells. There is high pressure to the southwest of us, an Azores high that's trying to build in, but it's not going to spread across the whole of the country, and as a result, there is a frontal system waiting to come in from the west later on. But for the time being, like I said, a lot of dry, bright weather around, some sunshine breaking through, but also a scattering of showers here and there. Not many of the showers will be particularly heavy, so generally quite light and short-lived. If you get any of those sunny breaks, it's going to feel pretty warm. Temperatures towards the southeast peaking in the mid-20s here, a few degrees fresher than this further north. Then as we go through this evening, we are going to see the showers continue for a little while yet, but they're generally going to clear away towards the east and die out. So a few showers lingering across some parts of Scotland, particularly towards eastern areas, but like I say, turning dry for a time. Largely dry to start the night across Northern Ireland, but that rain starting to edge its way in as we go through the night. And then across much of England and Wales, for many it is going to be fine. There'll be some late sunshine around, but just still a few showers lingering in a couple of places. Like I said, though, those showers will clear away and ease, and then it's dry for many away from the west, where we're going to have that cloud and that rain because of that frontal system that I highlighted at the start, that pushing its way in. Towards the east, it could turn a little fresh for some, maybe just getting close to single digits, but further west, where we have that cloud and that rain coming in, it's going to be pretty warm. It's also going to be pretty humid and damp. So a damp start to the day tomorrow across western parts. That rain a bit persistent at times, but as it pushes its way south and eastwards, it's actually going to break up a little bit. And so it's going to turn a bit more showery across central southern parts of England in particular. And some of these showery bursts could be quite heavy. Temperatures for many are going to be down a couple of degrees compared to today and feeling it under the cloud.
Good Afternoon Britain isn't just about us. The wonderful thing about this programme is it's about everyone watching. It's an interactive programme.
Well, there absolutely is something to see here, and we're going to be talking about it more.
Whether it's breaking royal news, please bring us up to date, or indeed a particularly punchy speech in the House of Commons.
Very, very curious.
We bring it to you live, and then we bring you live reaction as well.
That's Good Afternoon Britain, weekdays from midday.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
Hello, this is Britain's Newsroom. It is 11:42 coming up. This is GB News and it's Andrew Pearce and Dawn Neeson. You were going to say Bev, weren't you?
No, only because they've written
Bev is in
Turner
Scotland
on the
with
autocue.
Donald Trump.
Keep up, poor
And
people
doing a
writing in the autocue.
sterling
She's in
job.
Scotland.
Yes.
Now, the head of the NHS has warned patients to brace themselves for strike disruption until Christmas and beyond.
It comes as talks between ministers and unions collapse and strike action enters day 4.
These are the people who used to be called junior doctors. They're now called resident doctors. But nurses are voting too on industrial action, and the prediction is they will vote to go on strike again.
Yep, absolutely.
And consultants again.
Senior doctors and consultants have been balloted. We'll get results of that at the beginning of September.
I thought this lot, having given junior doctors a huge bumper pay rise over 20%, might have got a string attached to it. No strikes if we pay you 22%.
Don't you think that would have been logical to write that in the agreement?
Which is what they did which is the same mistake they made with the train drivers. 16% over 3 years. They were on strike within a week, some of them.
Yeah, I know. Any case, Kemi Badenoch has, a Conservative leader, obviously, has criticised the government pledging to ban doctor strikes entirely if she gets back into power. We're joined by GP Dr. Dean Eggett. Not sure if I've got the correct pronunciation. Dean, thank you very much. Apologise if I mangled your name there. This strike could evidently snowball until January, by the sounds of it.
Yeah, this is another disappointing round of strikes for the resident doctors. Sadly, despite their last pay rise, they're looking for another pay rise, and they have decided to walk out yet again, and it's having another catastrophic impact upon the NHS when we already know that the waiting times are huge and patients are being affected by hospital appointments being cancelled, GP appointments being cancelled, and operations being cancelled. This is really the last thing the NHS needed right now.
And they've already they got a pay rise when Labour got in, Dean, of 22%. They're now seeking slightly shy of 30%. I think people watching and listening will think greed.
Yeah, well, I think resident doctors have to be really careful here because they need patients, the taxpayers, on their side. If they're ever going to win this. And there's going to be a bit of a war now, a battle between resident doctors and the government hoping that patients will lose patience with the resident doctors. And as the support to resident doctors wanes, then the government will win the battle. But if resident doctors can continue to keep the support of patients, then this might actually be drawn out for quite some time. And I'm not surprised, actually, if it will last much longer than Christmas, because the pay rises that's being requested is, quite frankly, impossible, I personally think, financially within this year. So it may be something that moves on from year to year to year if resident doctors are really that keen on getting what they're calling pay restoration.
Dean, we know GPs are already struggling in any case with the weight of patients. What effect is this going to have on GP surgeries?
You know, Don, I'm really glad you asked, because it is having an effect. So I'm a GP sat here with patients today, and we have been impacted by our resident doctors not turning up today. And the funny thing is, resident doctors don't have to tell you that they're going on strike. So what happens is, essentially, you turn up to work, you have a clinic booked or blocked out, and then somebody does or doesn't turn up, and you have to respond to the patient's demands upon the day. In GP practices, we don't have spare rooms. We don't have spare people sat waiting for patients. So either you overbook a clinic with doctors and you pay thousands of pounds having doctors sat here waiting to go, or you don't book a doctor in at all. Now, that means then that you might have a resident doctor turning up, waiting to work, and another doctor booked at the same time, and nowhere to put them both, having spent thousands of pounds on it, or booked neither and have nobody. So you're either overbooking and spending a fortune, or underbooking and not really having patient safety. General practice can't win in this. This really does harm general practice and people's ability to see GPs. And bearing in mind, we don't just see coughs and colds. Our patients can be very seriously ill too. The impact is very large.
Dean, thank you very much. That's GP Dr. Dean Eggett there talking about the ongoing doctor strike.
I think it's Eggett.
Eggett? I'm not sure.
I think it is.
I wasn't correct.
Dean, are you still there? How do we pronounce your surname?
I'm here. Thanks for asking. It's Eggett, but I really don't mind either way. You can call me Dean or Dr. Dean is how I usually get called.
Well, thank you for that.
Thank
Very
you.
nice to talk
Thank
to
you, Dean. Thank you.
Now, moving on, if you're in search of some holiday sun, here is the forecast for some of our top European destinations. You're supposed to move the auto cue.
Oh, OK. Here you go.
You're looking happy.
Well, the forecast looks good.
So you've sorted the travel insurance then?
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Hello there. We've got some severe thunderstorms on the way across many parts of Italy and the Balkans on Monday and Tuesday. But the good news is the extreme heat across Greece and Turkey is slowly easing, though there are unfortunately still a few wildfires around in places. Those showers also across parts of Italy, maybe the Pyrenees as well. But most of Iberia dry, sunny and settled, as indeed it will be across parts of Madeira and the Canary Islands. Lots of sunshine on the way and very warm, if not hot, over the next few days.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Welcome back to Britain's Newsroom with Andrew and Beth.
Hello everyone, Patrick Christie's here.
I'm Michelle Dewberry, Britain's News Channel.
Access the stories that matter to you. Take the GB News family with you on any device. And as long as you have an internet connection, tune in to GB News anywhere on the planet or beyond. GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Britain was once the envy of the world. But look around. A nation that no longer knows what it is or where it's going. A country that's broken. How do we fix Britain? How do we bring it back? Friday night with Matt Goodwin at 8 p.m. only on GB News.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, isn't it?
Because
the failure is...
You're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes & Co weeknights at 6 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
He can say whatever he wants.
A straight talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m. weekdays here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
5 hosts, 5 opinions, 5 fearless debates,
5 unfiltered takes on the day's news.
5 reasons not to be anywhere else on Saturday night.
This is the Saturday 5.
You got me. You got me good there. Britain's biggest Saturday night TV show.
It's not a bad brand.
Yeah.
Uncensored.
Very, very racy tonight on the unpredictable.
What did she say? Can you translate it for us?
And always entertaining.
And how can a country go from being led by William Wallace
Saturday nights from 6 p.m. only on GB News.
The People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
You're going to want to stay tuned, trust me.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
Now we're going to go straight back to Scotland because our very own Bev Turner is there for Trump's visit. She's been having a great time with access to Donald Trump, and of course the Prime Minister, that exciting political titan, is about to arrive in Scotland. And Bev, I imagine the challenge for Trump will be to try and stay on message, but on immigration, I think he won't. He's going to tell Starmer, you've got it horribly wrong.
Well, he was very diplomatic yesterday when Ursula von der Leyen was there, because I raised the issue again with him. You know, you said on Friday that migration is killing Europe. Do your friends on the other side of the room agree with you? And you could see the representatives of the EU do a little bristle. Yeah. But actually, you know, Ursula von der Leyen said immigration is a European problem and we will decide who comes in and out of our countries. And I thought, well, not really. The traffickers are deciding at the moment who comes in and out of your countries, and particularly ours. But I'm sure in a room full of journalists today, one of us is going to bring this up with them both sat there. So that could be a little bit awkward. We don't know at the moment what the setting is going to be. So we had thought the Starmer would be here. The Prime Minister would be here at about midday. We've now heard that it might be pushed back to more like 12:30. And I believe that because the weather is nice, they're going to greet each other outside. And maybe that's where we as the press will have access. Whereas yesterday we were sat in that very glamorous ballroom with the sea in the background behind the window. So I'm not sure how it's going to play out this afternoon. These things are very spontaneous. Donald Trump is also here, in effect, on holiday. He's got his family, he's got his sons, he's got their wives, he's got his grandchildren are here. So he's spending the morning playing golf, enjoying this phenomenal property that he owns here in Turnberry, and then having important meetings in the afternoon. I've actually snuck into the library. As you can see, I might get kicked out any minute now by some rather handsome Secret Service man, but you'd love it here, Dawn. But actually, at the moment, everybody's still waiting. The press are on tenterhooks until we get the green light to hot-foot it out there to say hello and ask our questions.
Bev, would you call him impressive, Trump?
Yes, I think he is impressive in real life. He is quite statuesque. He has got a sort of a piercing sort of gaze, I would say. He very much commands the room. He would. He's the president of America. Of course, he's going to command the room. But yeah, he doesn't. He treads his own path, doesn't he? And once he starts to talk, you know, woe betide anyone that wants to interrupt him. So as an interviewee, I imagine one-on-one he'd be very challenging because you don't want to impolitely interrupt. But similarly, if you let him, he will just talk about what he wants to talk about, as opposed to necessarily what, as a journalist, you might want him to talk about.
And Bev, as well as covering everything today, you're actually flying home on Air Force One with him as well, aren't you?
Oh, it's cooler than that, Dawn, actually. Let me tell you what's happening. So I have to kind of like suppress my enthusiasm. But I'm going to be going on Air Force One to Aberdeen this afternoon. And then I'm going to be getting a helicopter over to the hotel in Aberdeen this afternoon. And then I fly back to Washington on Air Force One tomorrow. And then I will be back in London the next day.
You're going to have a bit of jet lag there, Bev.
I have got some jet lag, yes. It's catching up on everybody a little bit in the press pack today. But listen, this is no time to complain. As my mother would say, you can sleep as long as you like once you're dead, Beverly. You make the most of every day. And that's what we're doing.
And as they say, Bev, give him hell. Give him hell.
Bev, thank you very much. Go for it.
That's it from Britain's Newsroom. Going to the weather.
Expect a warm front, moving from the kitchen right through to the rest of the house. Boxed Boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Good morning.
Morning, welcome to your latest GB News weather from the Met Office. So today is starting a bit drier and brighter for many of us, a bit more in the way of sunshine around. However, still one or two isolated showers on the cards for some of us as we go through this afternoon. Almost anywhere could see a very light shower, but there will be plenty of sunshine between those showers. Probably England and Wales seeing the bulk of those showers through the afternoon, but they will be much lighter and much more scattered than we saw on Sunday. And as I say, a lot more sunshine between those showers too. Feeling really pleasantly warm in that sunshine, particularly at this time of year. The sun's fairly strong still, 24 or 25 degrees in the south, and even into the low 20s across much of Scotland and Northern Ireland too. As we then head into Monday evening, there will still be some late sunshine on offer, those showers gradually starting to ease through the evening. One or two still around in places, but it should be dry for most of us to end Monday. Perhaps the sunshine turning a little hazier across the very far west of Northern Ireland into Monday evening. And across parts of Scotland too, still one or two isolated showers, particularly across the Northern Isles, to finish on Monday. As we then go through Monday night and into the start of Tuesday, that area of cloud associated with that area of rain pushes its way eastwards overnight Monday and into the start of Tuesday. Before we get there, though, there will still be plenty of dry weather around, those showers gradually easing, plenty of clear spells, but turning increasingly wet and perhaps a little breezy across parts of Scotland and Northern Ireland. And quite mild here too, temperatures generally holding up into the double figures across many towns and cities, but some rural spots perhaps starting just a little bit fresher on Tuesday morning. That area of rain then continues to sink its way south and eastward through Tuesday. It will break up, turn a little more showery in nature through the afternoon, but we could still see some heavier downpours and there will be quite a bit more cloud around than we're seeing through today. Although temperatures will still be pretty similar, it will be feeling quite a bit more humid on Tuesday afternoon. 23, 24 degrees in the south, but still into the low 20s further north, but definitely feeling more muggy than it did over the weekend.
A positive outlook through the night will power through to a bright day ahead. Boxed Home Battery Storage, sponsors of weather on GB News.
It's the final week to see how you can win big, as there's an incredible £54,321 in tax-free cash to be won. What would you spend it on? The holiday of a lifetime? Or just sit back, relax and remove some of those day-to-day financial stresses? Lines close on the 1st of August, so make sure you don't miss out. For another chance to win, text cash to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB14 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 1st of August. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
no,
because the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes and Co weeknights at 6 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Good Afternoon Britain isn't just about us. The wonderful thing about this programme is it's about everyone watching. It's an interactive programme.
Well, there absolutely is something to see here, and we're going to be talking about it more. Whether it's breaking royal news, please bring us up to date, or indeed a particularly punchy speech in the House of Commons.
Very, very curious.
We bring it to you live, and then we bring you live reaction.